Nobody in here yet. Give people a few minutes to figure out I'm on. Hello. I see somebody showed up. I'm just waiting to give people some time. Yeah, I saw the movie. Um, but there okay, so the movie was great, but there's something I wanted to address that made me decide to go on without my intro and all this stuff. I just wanted to give a couple, some people to find out that I'm on and give people a couple minutes to get in here. I got something. I mean, you talk about news, the breaking news. Okay. Um, so I'll start while we don't have anyone in here yet with a little quick review of the movie. The movie was great. No spoilers. But if you didn't watch WandaVision, you should see it first because the movie makes a lot more sense once you've seen WandaVision. So Doctor Strange has got my thumbs up. I wouldn't say it was a 5-star movie by any means, but it worked. It was good. Um, but there was something else that happened, like literally just happened that I wanted to address like immediately. But here, hold on a second. Give a couple more people a couple minutes, a little bit more time to get in. Okay, so right now, live, we got SGV News and we got Pito Libre Audits. They're both on live right now. They're both at the same scene. I rewound it a little bit because I was watching their live feeds and I could not believe what I was seeing. So they see some squad cars and an ambulance parked on the side of the road. So they pull over and run up and start filming. There's a guy laying on the ground and the EMT is giving him compressions. So there's a man literally dying. And what do these guys do? This is literally live right now. You're not going to believe how these idiots handle watching the EMTs trying to save someone's life and how them being the cameraman becomes way more important than what's going on. It's sickening. And I'm like, man, they're on live now. I'm going to go live now. I was going to anyway, but here, let's watch. This is from Pito Libre Audit's point of view. See behind her, the guy giving compressions in the background. They're trying to save a man's life. Somebody's literally dying right now. So these people are like, "Why are you filming?" Thank you, ATV Thunder, for joining. So these people are like, "Why are you filming this? Look, see the EMTs." They're like, "Okay, stop filming this poor guy. He's laying on the ground. They're trying to save his life." See, look, compressions.
Wherever you go, touch my camera. Because we will be in handcuffs. Right? Get out of here. Let me know. Touch my shit. I don't give a fuck who I is. Back away from my camera, man. Back away. Back away, man. Don't touch me. Regret it. I'm letting you know right now.
In the comments section while this was happening, everyone was like, "Oh, look at that Karen! What a horrible, terrible Karen she is! I can't believe she doesn't believe in the First Amendment. Why doesn't she move to Korea or Nazi Germany?"
America, we can do this.
Yeah, we can ask you to stop.
You can ask.
It heats up. Just watch. This is just the beginning. I rewound it a little bit. And then SGV is, this is Pito Libre. When SGV shows up, I have his camera angle as well. And how is this in any way doing anything for government transparency and accountability?
You got him?
See the guy in the back in the yellow jacket is still giving compressions? Like, this is a major, insane problem. And all these people are like, dude, why are you filming this poor guy? He's dying on the street, literally. And you idiots only care about sticking your cameras in people's faces.
That's fucking assault. Don't fucking touch me. You touched me. It's not worth it, Mario. Mario, it's not fucking worth it. They're filming. They're fucking filming right now.
Easy, Mario.
What's your name? It's none of your fucking business. What's
It's
your
your
name?
business, exactly.
Then why are you
It's your
asking
business.
me? Okay, fine. Yeah, I am a piece of shit. You're a bigger piece of shit.
Yes.
You're a fucking idiot.
Look who's fucking talking.
Why are you guys interfering with my work?
What's your word?
Yeah, what is this word?
Yeah.
What is it?
To film a guy dying on the street,
Yeah,
You
yeah,
guys
yeah.
are
What's your word?
it's none of your business.
Yeah, what is it? What is it?
All right, I need to go to work.
Are you stealing? Yeah. You stealing people's phone?
Yeah, I'm stealing
She's
people's
stealing
phone.
phone?
Standing on Judge John Iso, you're in the seat. I need you to leave. or
Yeah,
you're gonna
leave, you
pay.
idiot.
Wait,
That's you first.
you first.
Leave,
You're
idiot.
blocking our way.
You're the idiots
Trying-
trying to
Get out of my
audit
way,
a
I'm going
man
the other
that's
way.
literally
Get
laying
out of
in the
my
street
way. You're
dying.
impeding my movement.
Hey, boss.
Get out of my way. I'm going that way.
No, you can go around.
Don't put
sir.
your hands on me.
Go around, please.
And watch
We're
out.
assisting this gentleman.
Watch
Give him a
out.
little respect, all
Watch
right?
out.
It's not about us. It's not about
Respect
me.
from a frauditor?
Just go back, bro.
Put your hands off
I'm
me.
asking you to go
You can
back.
ask.
Please,
Stop putting
go
your
to the
hands on
corner.
me.
Go to the corner.
I'm going that way.
No, you're
I
not.
gotta
You
go
can
to my
well,
vehicle.
Go around.
Stop
Go
putting your
around.
hands on me.
I said go
Stop
around.
putting your hands on me.
Go around.
Stop
Go to the
putting your
corner.
hands on me.
Get back. Then get back.
If
he
these
can be
guys are
behind you
supposed
or
to
what?
be journalists,
Stop
Respect.
putting your hands on
the
me.
whole
What's the matter
time
with you?
that those EMTs are trying to save
You're
that
an
guy's
idiot.
life right
You got no
behind this
respect
cop,
for people.
they
Oh, no,
haven't
what do you think
said
you watch on the news,
anything,
you idiot?
not
Who do you
one
think
word
shoots
about
that?
the
You're
victim.
the fucking idiot.
You guys are stupid, man.
Leave the area.
Okay, what do you think you watch on the news, you
Here-
idiot?
There are some guys fucking filming a dad
Yeah.
on the street.
What
Look
do
at
you
this
think?
dude. Look at this dude. You should be ashamed of yourself,
Yeah, I'm
bro.
so ashamed.
You should be. You should be.
You're an idiot.
You're a fucking idiot.
Leave the area. You guys are still here. Just go to the corner.
I'm walking.
No,
Don't
you're
fucking
not.
touch me with
I'm
that
not touching
phone.
you. I'm not fucking
Don't fucking
touching you,
touch me
bitch.
with that
I'm
phone.
not fucking touching you. You shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up. Embarrassment's my fucking community.
You're an
Yeah.
embarrassment. Look at you.
Look at you.
Acting like an idiot.
You're the
Look
one
at
who's
you
acting like
Look
an
at
fucking
you.
idiot.
Filming somebody dying, bro.
What do you think you watch on the news, you moron? Who do you think films that? You're a stupid
Not you,
idiot.
random idiots.
You're a moron. Who do you think gets the
You
news,
are.
man?
You
Who do you
are,
think
bro.
gets the
Not
news?
you.
You're an idiot. I'm not holding up shit. I'm
Yeah, let me
walking
see your
back. Shut
footage
up.
on the 10 o'clock news.
He's not fucking
Get out of my
touching
face.
you. He's not
Let me
fucking
put tape up
touching
and you
you.
guys can record all you want.
So,
Go to the corner.
I'm walking.
Nobody told them not to record.
Go to the
Well, I
corner.
mean,
You
the
guys
cop
are
didn't tell them not to
Put your
record. The
tape
people
up,
are like,
come
I
on,
can't
the
believe you're
inside
filming
of
this
that.
guy.
What about this? They're
He's dying
behind
in the
you.
street.
Let's go then. Get them behind you. Get them behind you.
Say your directive and do your job. I don't want to hear none of your directives. Miss me with that. You
Okay,
guys get to work. You're never gonna get off the car.
all right, no, here, wait.
That's
Real
just Mario.
quick,
Mario ain't gonna do shit.
real quick, let me go back
We're not fucking
What do you
touching
mean?
you.
Shut
and show
up.
the same thing from SGV's point of view, because he's standing there and he is filming the same event at the same time. So now let's watch the same thing, but from SGV's point of view. Let's see. This is just insane to me. And I mean, this was live, so I don't know if they're still there or what's still going on, but. Same events from SGV's camera.
You don't know how to walk, you fucking idiot? But you can go anywhere you want to, you fucking idiot.
We're not stopping you. Put your tape like Sergeant did you. Who's stopping you? Who's stopping you?
What, man? This is my freedom of exercise. First Amendment. You're an idiot.
There you go.
Hey, arrest these guys. Citizens arrest. They're violating my rights.
You're violating.
Arrest them, man. Arrest
They
them.
don't have the right to be there. They
Arrest
don't have
them.
the right to film. They don't have the
Arrest
right to
them.
care
Arrest
about
them
a
for
human being
impeding
who's
my
lying on the
investigation.
street and dying. You're not
Arrest
investigating
them.
what?
All of them.
415 their ass right now.
What an idiot. Look at this idiot.
Look at this fucking idiot.
Look at this chavala right here. Look at this chavala.
Look at this.
Look at this chavala mensa. Look at this mensa right here.
Oh, now it goes to race?
Get that shit out of my face, motherfucker. Hey, control this motherfucker before he gets hurt.
Keep crying about it, bitch.
Keep crying about it, bitch. You little pussy. Look at this millennial right here. Thinks he's above the law.
A millennial pussy who thinks he's above the law. If the cops weren't there, they'd be beating you down right now.
Pinche bruja.
You know the cops are protecting you. That's the only reason you're doing this.
Get out of my way. Get out of my way. Your mom's a piece of shit for having you. Yeah. Your
And,
mom's a piece of
okay,
shit.
he's working on a news story about a man dying in the street.
Oh, that
And
one.
this is how he
Peanut butter.
covers it because he's a
Shut up.
professional journalist by harassing random people that are asking him nicely.
Get
Well,
out
they
of my
started by
face.
asking them nicely not to
Get
film
out
the
of my
guy.
face. Get out of my face.
What? We're not touching you, bro. Nope. You see your face?
Get out of my face.
It gets better though. As bad as
You're not
this
getting the
is,
shot, actually.
I am actually.
as the crowd starts breaking up when they walk away, they start yelling at the cops for not arresting people for jaywalking. And it's like, you know, their priority is the dead man laying in the street, not a couple of people
Get out of my
jaywalking
face, officer.
because
I'm not touching
they're
you.
leaving.
I'm
Officer.
not touching you.
Hey,
Like,
pussy.
I'm not fucking touching you. Why are you calling for the cops? Why are you calling for the cops? Why are you calling for the cops?
You're blocking us from filming the cops, you idiot.
You're filming the
You fucking
cops.
Tiny Tim. Shut the fuck
no,
up.
you're not. You're filming these people.
Shut up.
That's what they're doing, and that's what they're doing. Why don't you understand?
It's not news.
What do you think you see on the news?
Nobody,
Horses and
nobody.
ponies?
Millennials. This is
How
what
do you
the
know?
millennials
How
have
do
to
you know about
offer.
the chest compressions?
This is what millennials have to offer for
Right,
the
the
world.
chest compressions. That's what I was talking about.
Why don't you put that
They
sign
don't
down and
show
act like
that
a
on
real
the
man, dude?
news.
Put that sign down. What are you hiding for? You little bitch. What are you hiding
Not
for?
hiding. I'm trying
What
to
are you
give
hiding for?
respect to the guy who's dying in the street.
Pussy.
You
What? No, you're
evil,
with a sign in front of
horrible
you? You little
scumbag
bitch.
idiot.
You're a pussy. You believe this? This is the millennials of today. This is what the world has to offer in our future right here. A bunch of pussy bitches. Don't block my movement.
No respect,
Don't block my
exactly.
movement. Move.
They're trying to block
Don't
your
block
camera
my
because there's a
movement,
man literally
idiots.
dying on the street and you are just sticking your camera at it and filming it like it's saying, well, it's a news story because he's dying. What's the news story? You didn't ask any questions. You didn't do any investigation. All you did was show up. And then when people asked you to stop filming, you're like, no, you're a Karen. You're an asshole. Move out of my way, blah, blah, blah.
Don't lose your phone, lady. Don't lose your phone.
Touch my phone, bitch.
Don't lose your
Touch
phone.
my fucking
Put it
phone.
in my face, you're gonna lose
I'm
it.
not touching you. Go for it. Don't feel slow.
Don't be a slow.
You're a fucking
You're gonna be a slow.
Look at the way they talk to these people.
Oh,
Like, these people are insane for seeing something wrong with what these guys are doing. Like,
Oh, wow. I'm supposed to be sad about
Yeah,
what
you
you're
should
saying
be.
right
You
now.
should be.
I'm supposed
She
to
had
be
you.
sad.
You should be sad.
Oh, my God. I'm
You
so
gotta know.
offended.
Be sad.
I am
Be
so
sad. It's Mother's Day,
offended.
you dumb bitch. You
I'm
don't care
not
about your
fucking
mother?
offended. Oh, my
Idiot.
God.
you don't care about the guy dying on the street.
Fuck you, bitch.
You're getting the shot, you fucking idiot.
I'm still getting the shot of you too. Can't wait to make your video go
No,
viral.
you're not gonna go viral. You're an idiot.
You're a fucking
You're
idiot.
not gonna get like 2
You're a
views.
fucking
Get like 2
idiot.
views, you idiot.
Watch it. Okay, you'll see.
Yeah, I will see.
You'll fucking see.
They would have not come up to us like that. Like that. They would have not come up to us like that.
Yeah, what up? Oh, you're scared? Flincher! Get that shit out of my face!
I'm in your
stupid.
fucking face, bitch.
Get off me.
What are you gonna fucking do? Just stop.
Did he just shove that girl with his
Don't
elbow?
touch me. I'm
What
trying
a
to
big
walk
tough
here.
guy.
Touch me.
What? What, you little bitch? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Beat his ass
Fucking
because he
child,
shoved
get
that
the fuck
girl with
outta
his
here.
shoulder.
What are you gonna fucking do?
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Charge, Mario.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do,
Bust
Mario?
his head
Huh?
open, please.
Little pussy.
You're Mario.
Oh, you're Mario. You're Mario.
Hi, Mario.
Your mom's Mario.
Your mom is Mario.
Your mom's Mario.
Hi, Mario.
Little pussies.
Fucking Mario.
Little pussies.
We got to for the people right here, Karens.
You're the biggest bitch of all of them, man. You got no balls.
You can just see him.
Move that shit out of my face.
Yeah, but look,
Move that
they,
shit
they
out of my
touch you
face,
and you're gonna
motherfucker.
call the cops or pepper
Put it in
spray
my
them
face
because-
again, motherfucker.
Yeah, do it, Smack him with it, please.
This is the United States of America.
Pito Libre Audits is the other one, Susie.
America. This is a free country. Remember that.
Yeah, they're free
This
to
is a
tell
free
you
country.
there's somebody dying on the street. How about just having decent human respect? You ever think of that? Just basic human kindness.
You believe
ever-
this?
that
This
ever
is
crossed your
insane.
mind? No, of course
Fucking
not.
millennials of the world,
Hurricanes
man.
go. I got him. Let me get this picture. Hold on, I need that picture.
Look, they're getting weak. They're losing.
They're losing, huh?
They're losing their religion. Look at them.
Already.
No, they
They're
got the
using
guy
their
in the
religion already.
ambulance
Look at
now. The stuff they were trying to prove
Look
stop
at these
you
girls.
from filming
What an
is
idiot.
pretty much done.
Giving up their religion. Look at him.
No.
They're like zombies. I
I don't know
know.
you. I don't know them.
He's a bystander and he thinks you guys are a bunch of idiots too. What do you think about that?
They know you. You know them.
No, you're an idiot. Listen, wait, let me
That's none of your business, idiot. None of your business. None of your
I want to get
business.
to the part where they're
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Learn something, you fucking idiots.
you're the idiot. Oh, I can't believe the way these people act. All right, now I wanted to show. Oh, now he's complaining about her shoes. That's newsworthy too. All right, now I wanted to see if I could get to that part. This is from Pito Libre Audits again.
What are you doing out here? Who are you working for? Who are you working for? Who's your boss? What's your boss name? Who's that guy? What's your name? No, I'm not gonna shut up.
What's your name?
It doesn't fucking
Well,
matter.
then why does my name
Because
matter?
you're the one filming it.
Fucking idiot.
No, you're the one out here trying to be an asshole. Being an asshole, being a disrespectful piece of shit.
up.
What are you doing out here, man?
Look at this one.
Yeah, who are you live with?
Look
Who are
at
you
this.
live with? 400 and yeah.
Look at this
Who's the
idiot.
boss?
Look
Who
at
does
this
number
idiot.
2 work for? Who do you work for?
Who do you work
Tax
for, guys?
Anyway, I
Share
wanted to-
this. Share this.
Yes,
They're in the
I'm
road. Wait,
sharing
look
it.
at that.
That's him, huh?
You just witnessed the crime.
Oh, okay. Wait, let me go back a little bit.
You
Now
just-
watch this.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm gonna
Idiots
pause this
right
for
here.
a second. So, Jake Carr, you just got here. So, what's been happening is, and this was live just a few minutes ago. So, what happened was these morons came up on a scene where there was a guy laying in the street dying. The EMTs were giving him compressions to try and get him to save his life. These guys came there with their cameras. Other people that were there, we don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. Maybe they're the family of the guy. Maybe they're friends of the guy. Maybe they were there and they witnessed whatever caused it. They don't have any information at all, but they're journalists, right? Gathering information. So they're like, hey, why are you filming this guy that's dying? And they're like, screw you, you stupid Karens. Get the hell out of me. And it starts a big fight where everyone in the crowd starts showing up. Now they finally got the guy on the ambulance. And so everyone's starting to disperse. And now these guys are going to start complaining about how the cops are not pulling these people, are not giving these people tickets for jaywalking as they're leaving. The cops' priority right now is the dying, possibly dead man in the ambulance. That's a little bit more important than a couple of idiots with a camera.
Here, man. Okay, you got nothing to film. Exactly. I got it all already. Thank you. You're morons.
You guys lost. Get out of here.
Get. You're dismissed. You guys are dismissed. Get out of here. You guys lost it.
Hey, you guys lost it.
You
Bye.
guys lost
Get
it.
out of here.
See ya. See ya. See ya. Bye, Karen,
Bye,
Darren.
Karen, Darren. Filthy shoes.
Little bitches.
Hey, come here. I need your name and
Hey,
serial
come
number.
here, male bitches. Come here, refrigerator.
Hey, get out of the
I'm gonna
street.
call you refrigerator Meanie Perry.
Officer, ticket those guys for walking in the street.
Are they above the law?
Ticket them right now.
See people?
Damn.
How does this support our rights?
Hey, give them a ticket. Give them a ticket. They're in the roadway. Look at that.
That's him, huh?
You just witnessed the crime. You just witnessed a crime and you're not going to ticket them?
You don't
just
see
gave him
the
a ticket
ambulance
the other day
right in front of
for
your
dashing on the
face?
roadway. You're not gonna watch them and not gonna tell them nothing?
What's up with that?
You don't realize that they're doing
You're a
something a
piece of
little
shit,
bit more
man.
important right now?
Look at that. They could have got hit by a car out in the middle of the street and they're still in the street. Man, we see what kind of officer you are, man.
Yeah, the kind who's worried about a dying
Targeting.
man more than an idiot with a camera.
What are they still doing in the street? Why don't they get a ticket?
Because the cops are busy dealing with the victim or the person who's in trouble, whatever's on the end. Whatever happened to the guy.
Man.
We don't know if he lived or died. We don't know anything because these guys are such great journalists. They gave us the full story, which is
Sick-ass
nothing at
fools
all.
right here, dude.
Sick ass fools for having the audacity to put a
These
dying
fools, they
man
ticket SUVs for
over.
barely standing off
to
the
be
curb.
more
Yet
important
these
than
fools are
these
wandering
idiots.
all over the street. And it's that same, and it's the same dude, and he does nothing. Hey man, I need your name and serial number since you put your hands on me.
If they try to file complaints against these cops and sue and stuff, this video will destroy these guys. I hope.
Trying to get the computer for you guys.
Trying to get the
Damn, these fools
computer.
were all acting stupid, man. Can you guys believe that?
Can't believe how stupid you were acting.
Thank you. Putting up links up there. Appreciate all the mods in here.
Who is this? This is Peter Libre. He's out there with SGV. I've been switching back
Hey,
and forth
ticket her
between
too.
both
She's
of their
in the
camera
street.
angles.
What the hell?
And this was like just a few minutes ago, live.
Look at that. They could have got hit by this car.
You could have got hit by all those
Man,
people.
what's the matter
You're
with
lucky
you
you didn't
guys,
get
man?
your ass beat. If all those cops weren't there, you probably would have.
I think she knows who passed away.
Did he just say he thinks he passed
Came
away?
up on this one. I'm watching. I think we heard over the radio, so we headed this way. We didn't hear what it was. But we heard the address code 3. Sure enough. Well, actually, I don't know, to be quite honest, it was code 3. But anyways, they showed up after, I think this fire chief over here called them. I didn't even see the station that was. Showed us. Oh, it's station 9 again, Los Don. Huh?
Wow, he's got an awful lot of
God, look
not
who this
answers to
is,
questions.
Look at that, dude.
For an investigative
I saw
journalist,
that.
he sure doesn't know any of the answers to anything of what just
Look
happened.
at there. Who's that guy?
Get out the street. Hey, get out the street.
Hey, ticket that officer right there.
Put that shit on the side on the street.
Hey, ticket yourself.
We see you, man.
How come they didn't get a ticket, man?
You get a hall pass?
Anyway, I don't know what happens after this. This is where I went live.
Man, you just got discovered tonight, man. You just got discovered tonight.
Let's see what happens when they talk to the cops.
Go forward with the tape. Go forward.
Now they're leaving. Yeah. It's all good.
Okay. Hey, boss, just to let you know, we're gonna open up this lane right now, so there's gonna be traffic.
Yeah, no worries. I'll move as soon as you guys put the tape back up. Hey, Sarge, I got a question. Why does one of your officers like to put hands on me but let 2 other individuals behind him? And he's more worried about me than giving his back.
Because you're the one who's causing
I
trouble.
boss, I wasn't here. I just got here when they were trying to save this guy's life.
Do you think that's right?
Depending on circumstance.
Well, why would he put his hands on me when I'm clearly in front of him instead
Are
of
you bleeding? What
telling
did
the
you
people
do?
behind him to get back?
Like I said, I wasn't here, so.
Oh, he asked you to get back. Ooh.
That's not cool.
Excuse
me, guys.
Yeah, go around there.
Thanks.
And then we'll go straight to your shop.
You should have got a lot more people putting their hands on you the way you were acting.
Hey, yo, Sarge, teach your deputy how to de-escalate the situation too, or sometimes. When they see something, your deputy show them how to de-escalate the situation.
He was trying to
sometimes, man.
de-escalate, but you
There was
wouldn't
too many of them
listen.
watching, you know what I mean? They were just looking like, waiting for something to happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys trying to de-escalate situations. You understand what I'm saying?
They were trying to save a dying
The
man's
whole time
life.
they were just watching them, man.
That
You know
kind of
what I mean?
takes
I'm just saying,
priority
that's something
over
they gotta
you
know how to-
idiots. How do
come
you
in
not
sometimes
understand
and de-escalate
that?
the situation.
I'll tell you right now, boss. You got a young department right now.
Okay.
Everybody's learning every day, just like anything else.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's something I'll definitely talk to them about.
Yeah, because there was too many of them right here, so they could de-escalate.
I don't know if you guys thought there was a group over there.
Yeah.
I was dealing with that group trying to attack them.
Back them up.
That's the group that came
So
over
the group
here
that
and
came
we're
over
trying to
here.
violate our First Amendment right.
well,
Rather than
yeah.
the officers letting them know that we're within our right to
Right,
film
yeah.
anything, they just kept telling us, "Why don't you guys leave and respect?" This
Yeah,
is what I do for a
mean, I
living, you
can't-
know.
Citizens, I can't control. I mean, that I can't control.
But if you see
Yeah.
something, you could de-escalate the situation, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get.
Yeah,
them
and
back
if
over
they
there
would have
on
started
I mean, the
swinging, the
public saw
cops
it,
would have
man. I've
stepped
been
in,
live
and
the
that's
whole
why you
time,
talked
you know?
crap,
We
because
both
you
been
knew
live.
they couldn't do anything because the cops were there.
Trying to get them back. So it's kind
If
of
the cops weren't there, all 3 of these guys would be in the hospital right now for what they just did.
But we in public. You
And
know, you gotta
I
teach
know,
them that,
you guys have the right to do what you do, but understand their part also. They don't want their friend being filmed, and it's one of those.
That's where the
you gotta
officers need to
balance, right?
step. That's where the officer needs to step in, though.
Well, yeah. Well, the officers are actually trying to figure out what's going on here. Do we have a homicide? Is it
Well, there was
suicide? We're trying to figure it all out. So understand when it's very chaotic like that, we're trying to sort things out.
Okay.
And sometimes, yeah, looking back hindsight, we could probably be like, oh, we could have done this better.
Better.
Yeah, I mean, but there was 4 officers. 2 went over with the fire department, and the other 2 went
Okay.
straight after us.
Well, we're trying to clear it out. I'm gonna
Once
tell you that.
again.
And we were backing up, and he was still putting his
We
hands
just
on
watched
me.
the whole thing.
We try to clear it out.
There was a
We try to
man
figure out what's going on.
dying,
Was there any
and these
evidence
guys are
that we
worried
found?
about
And
why the cops weren't worried about
did. We
them
went right
instead of
behind
the
the
guy
tape
who
as
they
your
were
officer
trying to
was doing it,
save.
but he didn't have to put his hands on me. Like
Well,
I said.
A lot of times it's more just like a nudge and all that to get people back.
But why nudge me when there's 2 other people behind you? You're giving their back to
Well, I
them.
mean, if he was focused on you, he was focused
But
on
for
you.
what though?
I don't know.
You know, that's my question. It's
I
like,
wasn't their boss, so I can't tell you. But I'm just
So they could nudge you, though. So the car has the right to nudge you and move you out the way.
If someone's not moving, yes.
what
So
if there's backing up?
What
though,
if we're
you know?
backing up?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's what I'm trying to.
it's hard for me to explain when I wasn't there.
Exactly.
I wasn't there, so.
All right, it looks like that was pretty much. That's
Appreciate
pretty
you.
much
What's your name
all.
I think it was.
Because both of them are
Hey, Sergeant, I
not
think it was.
doing it right now, so that must be the end of that.
That was me.
Yeah,
That was me.
Hey, Sergeant, I think it's that officer right there with his back towards you.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that was like I said, I was planning on going live tonight anyway and trying to have a little bit of fun or whatever. And then I noticed, oh, these guys are on live. I wonder what they're doing. And I saw that. And I was like, if anyone still wonders if maybe we should kind of feel sorry for these guys a little bit, or maybe we should have some pity for the auditors because they're just out there trying to exercise their First Amendment. You look at this is the kind of stuff they're doing. This is what they're doing. Like, what? Like, seriously? Like, you don't understand why that's not okay. When there's not like somebody getting pulled over and them filming to make sure the cop doesn't beat the guy up or something, but they show up, there's a man literally laying on the street dying. The EMTs are trying to save his life, and these idiots still don't see why anyone would have a problem with them showing up there and doing their thing. Like, what delusional universe do these morons live in? and then start swearing at all the people who are asking them why they're filming and carrying on like, what does that have to do with government transparency? And then start yelling at the cops for not going after those people. Like, are you... The IQ level of these guys is like below zero. It's insane. Oh, and their followers were going nuts. While it was going on, I was looking in their chats. And of course, they're getting super chats like crazy. And all these people like, oh my God, keep up the good work. You guys are so great. I love you guys so much. Really? Really? There are actually humans on Earth that support these douchebags. That's why it's their job. I mean, if I'm obviously beyond that because I'm a decent human being, but it's like, that's all you got to do now instead of getting a job, just walking around, filming yourself being an asshole, and you're going to get paid? Oh, man, it's ridiculous. Did you see me? They thought I was one of the girls. You were out there when that happened? I don't know. This was just going on. All government money leeches. Yeah, they're... Anyway, that like I said, that was literally breaking news because it was just on live, so I wanted to cover that right away. But my original plan for tonight was to do something, to have a little bit of fun because I had an idea. For those of you who are unaware, the other day on Accountability for All's channel, Chili DeCastro, Old Delete Laws, had a debate. He chickened out of the debate with Blue Bacon, of course, because Blue Bacon's on the other end of the fence. But he did agree to debate James Freeman because Jay Freeman's a frauditor and he hates cops. So he figures, oh, we both hate cops, so that's what we have in common. Oh, thank you, Dina. I do try. Yes, he debated James Freeman. But what I was thinking, let me ask you guys if you'd be into this. I was thinking of playing a little game. A game I wanted to call Who's the Bigger Nut, or Who's More Insane? And what I wanted to do is play the debate between Delete Laws and James Freeman. And like you guys, it would be interactive. You guys would keep score. And in the end, decide who's more crazy, James Freeman or Chili DeCastro. Because I watched part of the debate live, and there were certain parts where James Freeman, the stuff he was saying was so insane that I thought that Chili was actually making sense with his arguments against some of the stuff James Freeman was saying. That's how crazy James Freeman is. Yeah, Anarchy versus Jocksock. Do it something, yeah. All right, yeah. So let me go ahead. I'll put that on and see if we could have some fun with it. Watching a couple idiots be stupid, but in a way that isn't like literally someone dying. So this will be more like a palate cleanser after that. So let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. Okay. All right, hold on. All right, so here's how I want to handle the scoring, okay? The score is for craziness. So the nuttier something is, the more points they get. So if Chili says something that you guys think is crazy, put a C in the chat. That'll be a point for Chili. If Freeman says something crazy, put an F in the chat, and that'll be a point for Freeman. Also, bonus points every time Freeman calls out Chili for trying to sell something. So let me go ahead and set that up. Maybe put a $sign every time Chili tries to sell something and Freeman calls him out on it. So let's get this on and have a little fun tearing these guys apart to find out which one's crazier. All right.
They're no longer called cops or law enforcement or police. They literally have a 360-degree camera that goes around their head with a pair of earphones. They don't have to call for backup.
Okay.
A whole new system.
I think
That's what I'm saying.
I think that we've jumped way ahead though.
How am I status?
Why? How did the cops exist in the first place?
Because of slave catchers, 1704 South Carolina slave catchers.
Okay. And how are police funded today?
Police are funded by stealing our money through taxes.
Exactly. So you're talking about. It sounds to me as if you're talking about treating a symptom rather than treating the disease. You're saying cops are out of control, so I don't know. We're supposed to have this halo thing on them so that we can see 360 degrees of what they're doing.
Right.
Instead of just realizing that that they exist through immoral acts and through violating people's rights in the first place by violating people's consent to their property and taking that property by force to fund them. Right.
What we have to remember the original. So when you talk about cops and rule of law, the way we get to cops is by John Locke writing the social contract. And John Locke's social contract is different than Rousseau's, but what it says is that the only reason we have rule of law is to protect and defend your rights. That's the only reason we have rule of law. We don't have rule of law for any other reason. That's what it's created for, to make sure you have food, shelter, protection, and warmth. Now, it has not worked out. It has been horrifically bad. You can see I'm going to cop shops. You go to cop shops. Like, it's going terrible for us. And they're taking all the power for themselves, which is statism. When you empower the government with our rights and all the tools to work against us, that's what statism is. Am I for that? I want to empower the cops more.
You know what? I'm sorry, man. There are literally goats bang outside of my window. That's why I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at what you're saying, but that really was pretty distracting. Hold on one second.
We can't hear him. We can't hear him.
Should be
So
laughing
you
at
go
what
ahead.
he's saying because it's that silly.
Okay. Did you ask me a question there? I'm sorry. I was ADD as hell
so-
with these goats.
No, I'm with you, dude. So let me say it again. So
Okay.
if you called me a statist,
Yes.
and what I said is clearly that we agree that this system of policing, the word policing or law enforcement, is dog poo. It has not worked at all whatsoever. It's been terrible. And then I said police have come up with a new system where they're going to record behind their back and it's going to help the cop, is what the cops say. Okay, so I'm not for empowering the police with more tools and more training so they learn how to beat us better and scream stop resisting. I'm for taking power away from the police and giving it to the people who are the sovereign under the social contract. So explain to me then your
Yes,
position of
James
calling me a
Freeman's in
statist
front of a
with
green
those
screen
words
with a
being said.
jail behind him.
With those words being said, I don't know. It sounds like you still believe in a. This government exists through it. It is fundamentally built upon a foundation of violating people's rights. It does not exist, period. I mean, I feel like you're talking about something that's like 20 steps down the road, you know, after the government's been created. That doesn't negate the fact that it's still been created based on and built on a foundation of theft. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you believe in this theft to create a government to have your, and why don't we also go back and you can explain to me what this social contract is? I don't understand that.
Okay, so but you didn't answer the question. And let me try it again. What I asked you specifically, and this is the definition of statism. A statist believes that the power of the people should be given to the government and the government should have more power. A statist believes that we should fund government apparatus to have power over us.
All right, just real quick, for anyone who just joined, we're playing a game with this. We're trying to see who's more crazy. So every time Chili says something crazy, put a C in the chat. Every time Freeman says something crazy, put an F in the chat. And every time Freeman calls Chili out on trying to sell something, put a $sign in the chat. And then we'll count up the points at the end and see who's nuttier, because they're both insane.
That we want to give more power to government and less power to the people. Now,
Okay.
I think that police, that we shouldn't even have the term, that we should create a new system for peace officers to respect your rights. And that would mean taking money away from the current system and creating a different system that would be based on only holding your rights as the bar, right? So that means I want to take money away. I want to defund police completely and start a new organization. And it'll be a transition period as we go from the horrible one that hasn't worked to a new one called transparency. And we're not getting into that. But I want to take money away from the government. There you go, James. Now I can see it. I want to take money away from the government and give it to the people. So how am I a statist?
Okay, I'm still going to have to ask a question. You're going to get rid of the police, and you're going to create
Right.
this other system where you're still going to have people enforcing rule of law, right?
No, not enforcing rule of law. Rights.
Enforcing rights. Sorry, enforcing rights.
Upholding rights. The
Okay.
terminology means everything.
Okay, and where are you going to get the money to fund that?
So right now where I'm at, there's a dozen different police agencies over this, and so it's total chaos. When they call out to a house, you'll have 6 different agencies respond, and then you'll see a bunch of pigs standing around. You pointed that out in Mesa when they arrested the guy for jaywalking, and they were promoting some guy running for office, and they had 24 cops all standing around with their Johnson in their hand going, oh, we really got that jaywalker. It was ridiculous. We spent how much hundreds of thousands of dollars on that one case. I'm for taking the money away from those people and creating a new agency called Transparency. Now, what that is doesn't matter, but my principle is to defund police and fund new apparatus that are based on total camera transparency at all times. So how am I a statist if I want to strip money away from the powers that be?
It sounds to me like you just want to strip it from entity A and give it to entity B. And you think that new entity, and again, that's why I'm asking you, where is the money going to come from? Are you saying that you're not going to eliminate the theft that existed to create entity A, that you're going to continue that theft and that direct violation of people's rights, but you're going to use it for something that you want instead of something that somebody else wants?
Well, this is going to segue into a different conversation. And the reason why I'm trying to stay on statist, you called me a statist, and I'm for taking money away from the current regime of trolls and pigs and creating new things that are based on the people power. However, if you're going to go into taxes all the time, then go ahead and explain to me how we wash away the 10th Amendment, which gives the states and the federal government the right to tax. And that's been from the foundation of our country's been built. Do you
our country? Whoa. No collectivism. It's your country.
Okay.
I'm not part of it.
Are you a sovereign citizen?
I'm not. I'm just James.
Okay, so you're not for. So if God forbid something happens to your second, third cousin, whatever, I don't want to, someone you love and care about, and they get hit by a car and they die, who's going to take the body away?
Probably friends and family, a voluntary system. So let's
you
go
don't know
back.
how he dies, but you don't know how he dies. Who's going to investigate that to see how he died?
I guess it's not going to be investigated other than through a voluntary system.
Make it real, James. I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road with all of you volunteers and all of you anarchists who just don't know what you're talking about. If your friend dies and you love your friend, and I'm 47, if I just up and die, you don't want to know how I died?
No, yeah, I definitely do, and that's why where volunteerism comes in, because I don't know if you've seen those. Wait, it's my turn now. I know you like to talk a lot. It's my turn now. You asked me a question. This is where volunteerism does come in. I don't know if you've seen all those videos of people who are uncovering and bringing cars up that have been in bodies of water, lakes, rivers, that government refused to investigate, either because they're lazy or they don't have enough money or they don't want to, whatever the reason is. They failed to bring closure to the family. And these private divers are going down and in a matter of minutes doing what the government couldn't do over decades, and solving crimes and solving murders and solving these things voluntarily without taxation. See, the only difference between what you want and what I want is you want to steal from everybody to get what you want, because you think that by using the right amount of force and the right amount of violence to take things from people, that you can create some type of utopia where nobody gets hurt, and if they do, then everybody gets restitution. That would be great, man. It really would. If nobody ever got hurt, and if people did get hurt, that everyone got the restitution that they want. And a lot of times we can get that, but there's no amount of violation of people's rights. And when you take the product of someone's labor, their property from them without their consent, to say, hey, I'm taking this from you, but it's for the greater good of the people, you're violating their rights.
Who's going to pick up your garbage, James? A volunteer?
You're building a system that's
Who's gonna
built
build your
on a
roads, James? A
foundation of
volunteer?
violating people's rights. How can
Who's
you
gonna
expect
run the
to protect
electricity
people's
that
rights
you
when the
use for your
entire
Wi-Fi,
foundation
James? A
is built upon the
volunteer?
violation of them?
Well, so first of all, the entire foundation is not based upon stealing people's rights. The 10th Amendment clearly gives the state and the federal government the right to tax. So that would mean that you're against the foundation of this country. You don't think that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now let's go over this. Do I have the right to levy a tax on you? Does James Free Range Slave Man have the right to say, hey, delete laws? I know you work hard, you provide for yourself and your family, but you know what? I have the right.
All right, the game is to find out who the bigger idiot is.
Do I have that right?
Of course not.
Okay. So what if me and we won't bring ACA in because then he might jump in but let's say I get 10 of the people in the chat to agree with me. Hey, you know what? We get to take 20% of delete laws as income. We're a majority now, right? Do we now have the right to take something from you that
That's
I
not the way a
didn't have the
majority
right to
republic
take?
works.
No, because that would be violating the very basic principle of life, liberty, and property written by John Locke. The
Right.
very foundation of our country is based on 3 different philosophies. John Locke's life, liberty, and property, we call it Lockean theory, and then Jean-Jacques Rousseau's social contract, which is rule of law, and then Montesquieu's book Spirit of Laws, which is checks and balances. And I would argue that the life, liberty, and property is rarely upheld if you don't have enough money, and the social contract has been completely bastardized, and checks and balances has never occurred because the federal government took all the power for themselves in the 1803 case of Marbury versus Madison. And
You're
just so you
still
know,
jumping ahead, though. You're still jumping way ahead because I still haven't figured out how anyone got the right to say that I get to forcibly take shit from you. Sorry, that I get to forcibly take from you what you have produced. If I don't have the right, and me and 10 other people don't have the right, how many does it take to make this immoral act of robbing you right? I mean, is it 100 of us? Is it 1,000 of us? How many does it take?
well, you haven't read the Federalist Papers, have you?
Why did they create some magical way where it's okay for people to rob?
Yep.
They did? Okay. So it's
Yeah.
magic.
So they're both
Is it
idiots.
fairy dust
Well,
then? Or
they had magical meetings and magical writings where they said that a federal republic or a constitutional republic would make it so that if we could tax the people to create a greater economy and a greater society that was based on food, shelter, warmth, and protection, that if we could tax people a little bit, that it would be fair. And that way,
So-
people,
you know, I'm sorry, but you've got to see the insanity in this. We want to protect people's rights to their life, their liberty, and their property. And in order to protect their life, liberty, and property, we will steal from them their property. You've got to see the insanity in trying to build a civilized society on such uncivilized behavior.
how is wealth created, James?
I have no idea.
How do people
Maybe
get
you can
rich?
explain it to me.
Well,
What's
I mean,
that?
well, so when you have the social contract rule of law, then you're going to create something called morality. Because without the rule of law, morality doesn't exist. Without the haves versus the have-nots, then there's be no reason to steal because I can provide myself a hut and have my girl, and then I can borrow and trade and barter. But what Rousseau pointed out so brilliantly was that if we didn't live under the rule of law, then what would happen is man would kill each other, like Thomas Hobbes said, bellium omnium contra omnes, which means a war of all men against all men. And so we're going back to the foundation because I don't want to jump too far ahead.
See,
What
this
I'm
is the
saying
part
is that the
where I couldn't
foundation of
believe
America
that
is based
Chile
on
was
3
actually
different
making more sense
philosophies,
than
and those
Freeman.
philosophies.
If
now,
everyone
it
was
didn't-
left
it
to their
didn't work
own
out.
accord,
It's been
it would be
dog crap.
anarchy
But-
and people would
but
go
the
crazy and hurt
idea-
each
the
other.
ideology,
And
and now,
again,
and here's my argument:
James
is
Freeman,
that for the first time ever, in
without
the history
taxes,
of
who'd
time,
pick
maybe
up
there
your
was
garbage?
a
Who'd build the
world,
roads?
a
Who'd run the
million years ago we
electric
don't know about.
company? Who'd
But
dig
in
the
our
coal?
current
Who'd do all the
understanding,
things? Who'd
for
build
the
the
first time ever, if we surround people who claim to be in authority with cameras in a 360 direction, and then the people have access to that data at all times, if they're interactive with anybody in authority, then you know what? We'll be able to have truth and justice through transparency. And the Bill of
Well, we're-
Rights.
Sorry,
the
go
Bill
ahead.
of
I'm
Rights-
sorry.
The Bill of Rights will be able to be held. But if you think you're going to get rid of the 10th Amendment, then you just want to throw away the entire Constitution and the entire Bill of Rights. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Positively. Toilet paper. But I mean, why would you say
James
that I
Freeman
want to
just
throw it away?
called
Clearly,
the
it's been
Constitution
thrown away.
toilet paper.
Clearly,
Where are all the F's?
we can see that in practice, we can talk about philosophy all day, but in practice, do they obey the Constitution? Do they obey even the legislation, the codes, the statutes? No, of course they don't. No. So,
Okay,
I mean,
so that's-
what difference does it make? It's a piece of paper that does absolutely nothing.
Okay, then let's talk about the gory details, like you said. Let's not talk about grandiose standing on your lectern or standing on your podium in front of your lectern. Let's talk about very specific detail about your system of anarchy versus the system that I promote called rule of law. And I'll ask you a question that I don't think you're going to be able to answer, but we'll see if you can. So
Cool.
Now I believe you have a family and children. I don't want to get into details of your kids, but you,
Yep, I do.
So you
Yep.
have a child. You
A
have a
grip of
child.
them. I
You
got
have a
5
child.
kids. All 5 kids that I know about with one woman. Any others, fuck off. Leave me alone. Go ahead.
So on this road right here behind me, and it's your road, let's just say, you guys have put a rule up because there's no rule of law, so you just have rules. And so the rules on your road is that the speed limit's 20 miles an hour because you got your 5 kids playing out on the road baseball like I did when I was a kid. Because you don't let them have an iPad, you say go outside and play, like a good parent should, in my opinion. Okay, now someone goes screaming through your road at 90 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And you go out to the car, and what do you say? Don't drive like that in my neighborhood. I got my kids out here. You even got those little yellow things that says go slow, kids play, right? Now, that's one thing to come out there and warn me. But now let's make it real. Let's get down to the detail of an
Can we stop right there for a minute?
No, but you have to answer the question, James.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So now the driver hits your kid and injures them, or the driver kills your kid. How do you get to the most important word, which is called justice? How do you get there in an anarchy system versus a rule of law system? Instead of just being grandiose philosophy, how do you get justice for what happened to your kid?
I think that you believe that in an anarchist system, there could be no courts.
Well, what if you don't agree with what the court said?
Then you don't have to submit yourself to the jurisdiction. And that's the way that the law works, is that you wait. So you choose not to submit to the jurisdiction. That's okay. The court's also not going to help
say
you.
no,
then
I
when
don't
something
accept the
happens to you.
jurisdiction.
That's
And
how
just
courts
leave,
used to be, actually.
and
I
you
don't know
just
if you're
kill
aware of that,
somebody
but-
and just
But
get away
your
with it
kid's
because
dead,
you
James. Your kid
don't
is
accept
dead.
the
What are you gonna do
jurisdiction of the
about it?
court.
Well, first off, I would have prevented the problem in the first place. One,
But you didn't.
I don't live in. Well, that's not something I would do, though. That's something statists would do because they think that they can magically control other people. See, I first off would take responsibility for realizing that I can't control other people. Well, at least not by telling them what to do. There are a few things that I could do. One, not live in a crowded neighborhood like that. That's one thing I could do, which I did.
Right? Some people don't have that choice.
Teach my
but
kids
okay.
to stay the hell out of the street. Or 3,
Oh, yeah,
even
don't
if
let
I
your
want to
kids
control
play
other
outside.
people, I could do it through a
That's
means
brilliant.
that would actually work, like putting speed bumps in that are so high that you just plain can't do 90 miles an hour. Now, this is assuming that I have the right to control all of this public property that's not my private property. But I mean, right from the beginning, a whole bunch of things happened that could have been prevented if people took responsibility for themselves and realized that you don't get to control other people. You can only control yourself.
That's a lot of word salad without answering the question. Guy drives his car through your neighborhood, comes up on your lawn, and whacks your kid, and your kid's dead. You don't agree to the jurisdiction of those judges because you're not the most popular guy in your neighborhood. So you don't want to submit your will to their jurisdiction. Now,
Okay.
the guy who killed your kid is me. How do you get justice? You can't answer the question. I'm waiting, though.
I don't think okay, well, I'll say this, even with your system right now, you're not getting justice. How do you get justice for a life? What's
But that's
justice?
what I'm trying to
What's
say. The
justice for a
system
life?
currently in place is not respecting the rule of law. It has never been. We agreed on that earlier. We
Okay.
both agreed that the rule of law has never been respected by this government, not one day ever. Okay. So if your kid gets killed in an anarchist system, in the current system rule of law, even though it won't actually give you justice for your kid's death, the person will be arrested and taken down to the dungeon where they're going to be sexually assaulted and torture cuffs and then put in a rape
What about
cage.
people
Now, that's not
Okay.
justice.
who
That's
are
not
running
justice
from
for
the
life of your kid.
cops and
Okay.
they throw
But then the
spike
idea
strips
is
down, they
violence
flatten the
with
tires, and the
violence.
people still
right,
keep
it's horrible.
driving?
And then
You
the
think
idea
speed bumps
is
are going to
that they're
stop
gonna have
them?
a trial, and then justice is going to be made when they sentence the guy to the dungeon for 10 years or 20 years, however long. But that's not working out how it's going now. But I understand the process now with the rule of law that doesn't work at all because of a bastardized system. But try to, if you would please, sir, how would you get justice in an anarchy system?
I
Because you
have
want
no
justice
idea.
for your dead kid.
I have no idea.
then you can't support anarchism. I'll tell you
Well,
how.
wait. I don't. How do you get justice in your status system?
Well, we're currently not getting justice until we change the way the status system, the way the state works.
Okay, so
We have to
tell me
change the
then
way the
how you. I don't
Well-
think you get justice for a life taken, period. But go ahead and explain to me how in a status system you get justice.
Okay, the idea of justice would be that instead of grabbing that guy and putting him in torture cuffs, sexually assaulting him, putting him in a rape cage, what we would do is you would start a process of negotiation with the person who needs retribution, that they can start to pay a penance for what they've done. Instead of putting someone in a dungeon after they killed your kid, we start a process of negotiation for restitution. But that's not happening at all. So instead, when your
How do you
kid's
make?
dead,
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, he would have to be in service to you in some way. I mean, the new system is
So
going to
Chile
work
wants
out
to make
new
slaves
ways
too now?
of both punishment, retribution, and forgiveness. Because if you can never forgive someone ever, then what are we? You can never be forgiven for a crime ever, and you would never forgive the guy that killed your kid. Maybe you wouldn't, but retribution would have to be paid. You would have to be somehow compensated for your loss. And that's not happening right now. I do agree the system.
So how
doesn't
does that
work.
happen then? I'm
Well-
still waiting to hear how that happens and how.
Well,
Yeah.
it's your job to defend anarchism here. I'm supporting rule of law and saying that the current system, while it doesn't work, we can tweak it and we can adjust it to make it work. But your system of anarchy will always boil down to absolute violence, where there's murders and death.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that in an anarchist system you cannot get retribution for wrong that's done to you, but you're also saying that you also can't get it in your system. Is that right?
Well, we can't get it in this system.
Well, I know.
But
I'm talking about your system that you think should exist. Again,
no,
tell me
you
how
would
we
be able
get
to
it
get
in-
now when you're talking about the death of your child, man. You know, you may feel like you're never going to get justice. But now, if we drop the back,
Oh,
the
so the
scale-
same thing I said. Okay, go on.
No, a life is a life, man. I don't see a real way to give a great pass for that. But now let's make it a little
Wait.
less.
So we're settled on it then. There is absolutely no system ever that's going to get anyone retribution or whatever you're looking for something like that. That's just a bad thing that happened. And, you know, we can come up with all kinds of ideas, throw them in a dungeon, rape them, kill them, forgive them. But I don't understand how the two systems are different, though. I mean,
Well,
there's
okay,
no
so-
retribution for a life taken.
So you won't answer how the anarchist system would work, but let me explain how it would work.
Okay.
Because you do not submit jurisdiction because your kid's leg is broken or they're dead or whatever happened, then what would happen is you would get your cousin or your brother and go over to my house, and then you do away with me, and then my family would call their cousins and they would go to your house and do away with you. It always in an anarchist society will boil down to absolute violence as an answer for justice. Whereas in a rule of law system, in a better system using rule of law with transparency, we could actually work towards getting retribution and getting justice. But again, I can defend my rule of law saying that the system doesn't work as intended and we should tweak it, but you can't defend your anarchist system.
Do you know what anarchy really means? All it means is that we respect
No
the rights
rulers.
of others.
No,
Right.
It means right.
You
It means
just
that I'm not
choose to
above you
respect
and that I
others'
never will be,
rights.
and that there's no magical power,
Just
powder,
decide to
or,
do
or
that.
fairy dust.
All
that's
bad
going to
people
put
will
me
just
above.
automatically disappear.
So then
You
how
know?
do you, then
And yet
how do
you
keep
call
justice?
Chile's
about
plan a
this
utopian
rule of law.
plan?
What does the rule of law mean to you?
So the rule of law means that it's listed that if you violate someone's rights, here are the exact processes to get justice for what's happened to you. And if we just scale it back away from death and we just go to a broken leg, then we can start to talk about what that retribution should be. Right now, when you talk about losing your kid, there's just a hard argument there. But your system of anarchy, where no one's above you and you don't have to submit to jurisdiction. Okay, well then, how do you get justice for your kid's broken leg, or for the guy driving 90 and you've warned him 20 times not to drive through your neighborhood at 90? How do you
Okay.
get justice?
All right. So the argument is because you want things to be rainbows and butterflies, you're willing to violate the rights of other people. Is that it?
No, I'm not against the
But he thinks that it would be rainbows and butterflies if everyone just could choose to do whatever they want.
That will never work, because if you push me too hard physically, I'll beat the shit out of you, right? So you understand that violence sometimes is going to be a reaction. If I come to your home where your wife and children are and I smack your kid in the head, I bet you that James is going to come outside and whoop my butt, right?
Well,
Because
that would be you initiating violence. It's
right, what I'm saying is violence is a part of life. Violence is a part of life. There's going to be violent men and women in the world always. That'll never change. But the difference with the rule of law and anarchy is that there can be a system in place that respects the rule of law and gets justice for how you've been wronged. Whereas in anarchy, you'll never get that ever.
I don't think we get that under your system. And you keep saying that. I mean, I thought that we lived in a system of rule of law right now. And it's kind of the same argument that I hear commies say all the time. You know, communism would work, but this just isn't real communism.
No, this is not rule of law. This is tyranny. This is a tyrannical state we're living in. This is not rule of law, because the 4 principles of rule of law, the first principle is that government and its agents are subject to the rule of law as well and live under, but that's not happening.
Wait, so all men are created equal then?
All men are created equal. However, when you have a rule of law system, then someone has to be an authority. And with an anarchist system, without
is there somebody above somebody else then that has more or less rights?
No, they don't have more or less rights. They're working as an authority for the state to administer rights protection and justice. Okay. So when your kid gets hit by the car, then there's a process to get justice for what happened to your child. Whereas an anarchist system, without that process and jurisdiction, you will take justice into your own hands. If I hit your kid, James, and there's no one to call, then you're going to take justice into your own hands.
There's always someone to call. See,
there's not.
I know that statists always look for government to their solution to everything, but what is that doing for you, Chili?
But who are you going to call, James?
This
How are you going to call someone? There's no phones, because who's going to volunteer to run the phone
and now
company?
Not only is your daughter dead, but you're also tased and your dog is shot, right?
I mean, never call the tyranny into my life. We're not living under a system of rule of law.
Okay, but you're
not
talking about some fantasy system where people will be good. Where people will be good, and you'll appoint them to magical positions above you, and every time that you
as
call
opposed
them,
to your fantasy system where everyone's going to be good just because you want them to.
We can get into the future of what peace officers and upholding your rights should mean, but you still have not defended. I want to point this out. You have not defended how an anarchy system would work when things go real bad.
Exactly.
When a man at your house beating your children. Tell me now, what does the anarchy system do?
To what?
If there's a man at your house, your kids are in the front yard playing, he told them to shut up, they didn't. He comes over there, he's smacking your children on your front yard. What you
self-defense? Self-defense. It's the same thing though that we have in the system now. Are you expected, if you see someone in your front yard smacking your kids around, to say, hey, hold on just a minute, stop that for a minute, let me call the police or let me get somebody else over here to handle that? No. In no system. In no system would it be expected that you say, yeah, go ahead, keep smacking them around. Let me check with my master and see if this is okay.
Then answer. You get your gun, right?
If he's smacking them around, no, I'm not likely to get a gun. No.
So, but
I'll have it. I mean, I got it on me anyways, but no, I'm not gonna escalate to killing somebody over it.
So then what happens with justice? How do you get justice?
What do you mean justice?
In your own hands. You then have to go to an anarchy system where there's not going to be someone to help you. You have to put it in your own hands.
Chili, yeah, I get it. I get it. Things are tough and life is tough and bad things are going to happen.
So just let them.
You think that creating a system where people are above other people is going to magically make it so that nothing bad happens and nobody gets hurt. And if anybody does get hurt, you get all the restitution you wanted, just isn't a reality.
Now who's talking Now who's talking in lofty philosophies? What about the guy beating his wife? Who's going to go in there?
Yes, James the Mick. Yes, that's what killed me about this debate when it was happening live.
Beat that bitch.
James Freeman is so completely
I don't know. Was dinner hot and ready?
Saying that he was saying things that made Chili sound good.
Jokes aside.
We can constantly come up with these trying to have this utopian society by solving everyone's problems through the right amount of force and violence. Here's what I've personally seen when the rule of law steps in, when government and police step in to deal with domestic violence problems. For one, half the time it's the girl beating or stabbing the guy or cutting off his finger. Okay. But nevertheless, the state steps in. All right. Right. The state steps in, they separate them. First off, they're using our taxation to step in, right? So they're using everyone else's resources to step into their relationship because they can't seem to get along. They get separated. Somebody gets taken to jail. They get separated. A day or two later, they're back together and they're calling the police again.
James,
Look,
you're
I don't
avoiding
give
the
a shit.
question. You're avoiding the question because you can't answer it.
You're
Let me
looking
ask
for
again
a
with-
utopian
no,
answer.
No. You're going to the lofty philosophies because you can't answer the nitty gritty details. And let me give it to you again clearly. You can hack the current tyrannical state system, and I agree with you. The rule of law has never been upheld, but you cannot defend your anarchist system you're promoting. It would never work. It would destroy our country. We
And
would
just to be
constantly
clear, what we mean by anarchist system is that everyone respects the rights of everyone else.
Yeah, but
But
who's
the
going
way
to
it's
make
why-
them?
And that anybody
Who's
who
going to
doesn't,
make them respect their
use
rights?
self-defense against them.
So far, 2 questions I've asked you, 0 answers. So
You're
I asked you
looking
about
for-
the guy hit your kid. Let me finish. And then
Yep.
I asked you about the guy beating his wife. Okay. You
Yep.
can't defend anarchism. You can hack the current tyrannical state. You can hack
Mhm.
that. And you and I are going to agree it's dog shit right now. But
Mhm.
what you can't do is give me an honest solution using a volunteerist society for the guy who does get drunk and does beat his wife. You can't give me an answer how that would work.
There's no answer for that in any society. You are looking for a utopian society. It will not exist, period.
I'm looking for a transparency society based on cameras. Based on cameras with 2 different agencies.
you're looking-
Okay, wait, real quick. I'm sorry. I have to throw this in there. So I love the way that James keeps saying, Chili, you're dreaming. You think you're going to have a utopian society. What we should have is a society where everyone just respectfully does nothing bad to anyone else. So how are you accusing him of wanting utopia? And you think that if there were no laws, everyone would just stop doing bad things because they just would, because out of the kindness of their heart? There's no bad people. There's no criminals. There's no such thing as rapists or murderers or any of that. It's all just people getting pulled over. Ugh.
to sell a
Through the
product. So you're not looking
not my
to
product. I'm not
face
selling
reality. So you're
Oh,
I'm
selling a
not selling
product.
product, dude. I'm not trying to promote a brand that I'm selling at all. I don't make any money from this. I don't have a transparency product to sell. I'm saying that with rule of law, it can only be upheld if we have total transparency and everything's on camera. Because
so we'll
then
have
the
utopia.
right,
So you're okay. So we will
It's
have
available
utopia.
now.
We will have utopia, and nobody will be harmed, and the justice system will be perfect if we have your transparency halos around cops' necks. Is that what you're saying?
but once again, yes, I do think that. But also, it's not
Holy
utopian society.
shit.
It's available
Okay,
now.
sorry.
But also, you still have not answered the question. 2
Yeah.
questions, you straight ducked them both.
Yep, and
How do you get justice when your kid's leg is broken or a guy's beating his wife?
What do you mean justice?
The woman can't get beat up in her house because her husband's a loser.
Who's going to
and
pay for
beating
your
her.
daughter's
That
broken
can't
leg?
work. You
What do you
said it
mean?
right.
Why
listen,
not?
We give the same example, James.
It
We
works
both
right
say-
now.
No, we both say, and be serious here, we both say that currently what they do is come in and arrest the guy half the time the chick's lying, throw him in a dungeon, treat him like hell. He gets out. They either stay together and then eventually he kills.
Oh,
Problem. We didn't solve the problem. You still have the guy who beats women. Now, I can defend that the tyrannical state is garbage. And I can defend that if we had a transparency system, we could have a nation based on rule of law. But you cannot defend your volunteerist system. And in 2 examples, you refuse to answer or you can't.
yeah. Yeah, you refuse to accept that a utopian society will not exist. You are absolutely right. I cannot solve everyone's problems.
You're ducking.
Nobody can.
You're ducking.
Nobody can, and nobody ever will. And the people who are trying to sell you this idea that you're going to never be harmed again if you just give me just enough power and just enough of your resources, I will make you happy. And I will do away with all the evil in the world. That's what you're trying to sell right here.
Who said
I'm
that?
not
trying
selling
to,
anything.
wait. I'm trying to say, no, you'll never have that. No matter how much money or power you give me, you will always have problems. You will always have wife beaters. You will always have people who just don't act appropriately in society. I'm saying that I simply don't want to try to take your money and power and say that I'm going to save you with it. It's
Okay,
just not a reality.
Then just answer
I
the
tell the
question.
truth.
For the love of God, just answer the question or you can't defend your platform. Okay. A volunteer society will not work when a man's beating his wife. Is that correct?
Wait, what do you mean by work? You mean that society will that the earth will cease to exist and all men will die because somebody beat his wife?
Well, in your
What do you mean by
utopian
work?
in your utopian idea of a volunteer society,
Whoa.
a guy beating his
Utopian is
wife.
your idea. I
No,
just
that's
said there
your
will be
idea,
wife
'cause
beaters.
we would have to change the entire government structure, and that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So it's a utopian idea. It's based in total frivolous nonsense. Meanwhile, though, the camera systems are available now. That if we had two agencies that
All right,
saw the
drop
same
your
cam-
website. Where do we buy the cameras to have utopian
I'm trying to
society?
say that to you again. You can try to make me out to be some sort of fraud, but I'm
Yep.
not selling anything. I don't have the money to create the system. It doesn't
Right.
exist. I'm saying that you can't defend how you use a volunteer society to step in when a guy is beating his wife because he could kill her. We got to protect her. So then what do we
then
do?
Go protect her. I'm not gonna have anything to do with it though. I don't give a shit. She should learn to stop going back. Look, you want to solve the world's problems, go solve them, but you don't get my money to do it. You understand? You don't get to take, listen, you don't get to take the product of my work to do what you want to do by force. Do you understand?
What
You wanna
happens
go
to the
save-
woman
you wanna
being
go
beaten?
save? I don't care what happens.
You don't
You
care.
want to go save everybody? Then go save them, but do it with your own money.
You don't
You
care
understand?
about the woman being beat next door to you.
No, that's her problem.
Really?
I'm sorry. That's
Wow.
absolutely right. That is absolutely right.
So then,
Yeah.
then you're more for a hedonistic society, not a volunteer society.
I'm more for understanding that you're not going to have a utopia and you don't get to steal people's money to save them.
Who's
Well, since
stealing
you
your
won't answer the
money?
questions,
Because
and I've asked you
taxes
clearly,
exist.
You did say you didn't
Who's
care
going to
if you
build the
could just get
roads?
beat.
Who's
What
going to
about
hang
your
the
kid that
phone
gets a
lines?
broken leg? How do you get justice for the guy that broke you?
Who's going to
drove the
pick up your
truck, you drag him
garbage,
out,
Freeman?
You got him right there. What's the next step?
You know, it works the same no matter what, whether we have a statist society or a voluntarist society. The guy's either going to admit that he did something wrong and pay for the medical bills, or he's not. And with or without a court system, we can hope that people are going to be good and he's going to say, hey, I messed up. But even with a ruling against
I just thought it was
I've
hilarious
seen
watching
people
these
dodge
two idiots
rulings where they're
argue over
supposed to pay
stupid
people money for
ideas.
their
They're
whole
both
life,
idiots,
okay?
but they're arguing with each
again,
other. It's
you know,
funny.
your ideas, I'm sure that they come from a good place, from having a good heart and wanting to help people. But the reality is bad things will happen. All I can do is hope that someone's going to pay my daughter's medical bills if it's truly his fault that her leg got broken. Now, I will also say, if my daughter was playing in the street and she gets hit by a car, I'm going to say that was probably equal fault. What the hell were you doing in the street?
I played baseball, kickball, everything in the street. We all did.
You know, and that was a different time. And I think back then it would have been a more
Not a
realistic
freeway,
argument that,
not
you
a
know, somebody
freeway.
shouldn't have hit them.
Not a
What's that?
freeway, not a freeway, a neighborhood street.
Right.
I don't know if I know very few Gen Xers, like we're Gen Xers, or boomers, or even the older millennials who didn't play in the street, kickball, baseball, wiffle ball, you name it. We all played in the street. Card come on, game off, and then card leave, game on. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a very popular thing. But,
Okay. In suburban neighborhoods, right? Right.
Right. But the point is that, and the reason I wanted to debate you is because I feel, and I'm proving it here, that you cannot defend and changing the system to a voluntarist or anarchist system, because the amount of deaths that it would require to change this government system would be a full-scale revolution on levels that would be hellfire and brimstone on earth. So there's your first utopian idea, that we're going to change the system. Your second
Whoa,
utopian,
whoa. When did I make that claim?
and then your
I
second
just said
utopian,
I just said that I believe that I don't have a right to steal other people's stuff and that neither do you.
but you also
I didn't-
said you
I
don't
didn't
care
say
about
I
the
was
woman getting
gonna
beat next
change
door to
anything.
you.
Obviously, we're not changing anything. We got statists like you who are trying to sell their like 360 cameras and run for office and say, hey, if you vote for me, then I'll be a good ruler and you'll never get hurt again. So I don't think I'm changing anything, but from time to time, a couple of people here and there start to realize, hey, this delete laws guy, he's not actually going to help anything. He's
Right.
just going to suck more tax dollars, and we're still going to have the same problems that we've already had. And you know, over time, people start to see it. I mean, it's right in front of our faces for us to see. So eventually, people
Idiots
realize you
calling
keep
each
doing
other
the same
out on
thing,
their
you keep getting the same
idiocy.
results. And
This
some
is
people,
brilliant.
actually, most of them will still keep doing it because they just keep beating their head into that brick wall. A few, though, will say, hey, why don't we stop initiating violence against each other to try to have a utopian society where nobody gets hurt and delete laws gets to be the governor?
Okay, so let me explain to the audience what James is doing. What he's doing is called a red herring. It's called an argumentative fallacy. So go ahead and look up what a red herring is. And that's an argumentative fallacy. And he keeps on suggesting somehow that I have something to sell, which I've said 3 times now is fundamentally and patently false.
And
I
yet
don't have
that's all
anything
you
to sell.
do.
I don't have any goggles. I don't have any equipment. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to make this country a better, more livable place. And
Are you running
currently,
for?
we don't, let me finish. We don't
He's
live
gonna run
under
for
a
governor,
system
I
of
thought,
rule
right?
of law currently. We live under a tyrannical state that overtaxes us using the 16th Amendment, not the 10th Amendment. And they overtax us and steal our money. And then instead of us having any say in that money, it goes to an authoritarian police, prison, death state, military state that hasn't helped any of the people here. We become the global police. So there's my argument to let you know that what he's doing is laying a red herring across the ground. So you don't focus on my arguments or the fact that he can't answer the question. You look over there, look over there. He's trying to sell something. And I've said dozens of times, I don't have the technology. I can't sell anything. So now let me retort once more, and then I'll be quiet. And I'll
All
let
you
go.
do is try
So-
to sell
So
something.
you're suggesting that a camera system 360 on people called peace officers, not law enforcers and rights protectors, is a utopian idea that's not available today. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that it's not going to create a society where nobody gets hurt. And to be clear, I'm not saying that you specifically are selling this item to make money. I'm saying you're selling this idea, though, that you're trying to sell the idea that some 360 camera is going to make it so nobody ever gets hurt again.
Okay, I agree with you. I am not selling, but I'm promoting an idea of change, and I'm promoting
So that you
new
could get elected
ideas to make the
governor,
world a better place.
and
You're
you have the
talking
patent
on
on it. You keep
philosophical
not mentioning
utopian
that.
ideas, and you
You're
have
saying it
no
doesn't physically
actual
exist,
action
but who
plan
owns the
to
patent,
make a
Chili?
volunteerist or an anarchist society come to fruition. You're just spouting things off that sound good with no actual action plan.
Yep.
You still
That's the
can't
difference.
defend your volunteerist society. You
Right.
can
And-
cut mine down, but you can't defend your own.
Right. And that's the difference between a voluntarist and a statist, is that a statist is always going to fix all your woes. They're always going to promise you, if we just do this, I'll fix everything for you. And the voluntarist is actually honest and says, this will never be a perfect world and you will face problems. You're looking for me to tell you that I'm going to solve the world's problems. It's not going to happen. And you're not going to stop
You
until
can't
I
solve
say,
your own
okay,
problems in your
I'll
system.
solve everything and there'll be rainbows and unicorns. You're not going to accept it as an answer until I say that. And that's what a statist does. You know,
Who's going to
they
pick
want
up
to
your
hear
garbage,
that
James?
everything can be solved and we can live in a utopian society. It's not going to happen.
No,
Chili?
no. As a matter of fact, you're misrepresenting what I've said earlier in this debate, which is I don't agree with the non-aggression principle. Violence is a part of mankind. And you go back before the foundation of America, the native tribes ate each other. They were
It's like a
cannibals,
junior
literally.
high debate.
Okay, so we're not
That's
going to
funny.
have this peace,
Yeah.
love, and utopia. If someone punches me in the nose, they better be ready because I'm coming
Wait,
back.
wait. The non-aggression principle only says that you are not supposed to initiate force against someone. That means I'm not supposed to walk up and punch you in the nose. But if
Yeah,
I
but that
do,
doesn't mean you're
you
not
have every
going
right
to.
to defend yourself. It
Now,
says I'm not supposed to walk up to you and take 20% of your income without your consent. But if I do, you have the right to blast me in the face. I'm not saying you should.
But you were talking about real world, James. If you stand in front of a podium and you say, I love abortion, abortion's my favorite, you may get an impassioned person who punches you in the nose. So that idea
that would be the
people are-
initiation of force. And that
right,
would be
so then people are not going to be emotional and attack other people. That's what you're saying?
No, absolutely not.
Of course they are.
Absolutely not. Again, you're looking for me to say that there will be no problems. No,
Right. But
people
what's your
will still
solution
continue
using-
to do, but
What's
you'll
your
have the right to
solution?
defend yourself.
What's your solution using volunteerism?
You're looking for a solution. There's no solution to your problems.
So
Of
there's
people
no
being
solutions
people.
to what you're offering. You're offering no solutions.
I'm offering that we stop initiating force against people to try to create solutions that will never exist.
We don't have a current state of rule of law. We have a tyrannical police state. We are not living under rule of law, James.
Because of you, we have a tyrannical police state.
Because of
me?
you.
Yeah, because of statists. Because
you keep
because you guys want other people to be controlled, but you don't want to be controlled. You know, and I see this all the time. I get people. I was talking to the local sheriff who says, you know, I have people call and complain about people speeding down this road. So we go out there and we do traffic control and we pull people over for speeding. It ends up being the fucking guy who called and said, I want you to pull people over for speeding. Now he's mad that he got pulled over. This is what statists do. They want everybody else controlled, but they don't want to be controlled. And
but-
until you can come to a point where you are willing to let your neighbor be free, then you're not going to be free yourself.
And that includes allowing him to beat his wife and no one stepping in.
That's that's her choice to be with him, and every single little scenario is different.
So what about abusing their children? What about a guy molesting his kids? You can't step in? Who's going to step in?
Why are we talking about News Now Houston now?
Listen, News Now Houston, I'm not going to hack anybody. I didn't want to talk about it. But what I'm saying is number one, I believe that from the facts that I have, that News Now Houston was totally set up by his daughter, who worked with the police to create charges against him. I'll just say that out loud now, because I know the people who are working on that case. So that's my belief right now until I get more facts. Do I think that the state will go to any level to take down people like you and I and News Now Houston? Yes, I do.
Yeah, you and I aren't like News Now Houston. If you are like News Now Houston, that explains.
No, I'm talking about people who talk out
That
against the
explains a lot.
And so then let me say this also. So you
I'd learn
continue
more
to use a red herring and call me a
watching
statist.
Sesame
A
Street
statist
than
is someone
listening
who
to
wants
these
to give
two
more
idiots.
power to the government
That's
and
right.
take power away from the people. I'm
Well-
the opposite of that.
Well, I established at the beginning that a statist is someone who believes that they have a right to initiate force against another person and use the
So
state to initiate that force.
I believe that the state should have the right to use force against a man beating a woman, against a guy molesting his children. Yes,
what about
I
to
do.
tax him?
The taxes is in the 10th Amendment? If you're talking about the income tax,
Oh, I forgot the magical writings. That's right. So you're a
but
statist.
you're
And look,
for
look,
abolishing the Constitution and abolishing the Bill of Rights.
you don't have to be upset about it, but it
I'm
is
not-
what it is.
I'm
I mean,
not
it's
saying-
not.
I'm
I
saying
never
you're
called you
abolishing them.
I never called you a statist to like call you a dummy head. To like, you know what I mean? A stupid head. You know what? It's just that's
You're a
what.
stupid head.
Right, but that's what you are. I mean, that would be like you calling me a voluntarist. Like it's not a derogatory thing.
But
It's just an accurate description. You believe in government, that government should be able to initiate force against other people to do what you want.
But your definition of statism is a lot like the Scientologists who just changed the meaning of words. If you don't go by what the actual words mean, then you're just making things up like the Scientologists did. And so what you're saying is statism means something that it doesn't mean. Statism literally means giving more power to the government and stripping power from the people. That you want to empower government, and you're saying through taxes, you keep making the same argument instead of arguing specifically against the 16th Amendment, which creates the income tax. And you keep saying that I'm a statist in regards that to terms that you've just decided what a statist is in your mind. But that's not what a statist is.
All right,
Just like
fair
a
enough.
volunteerist has a very clear definition. And if I don't have it proper, then I'm saying things about you that are fundamentally untrue.
Well, I guess we'll use your definition then. A statist is someone who wants to give power to the government. So you're saying that you want to take power away from the police, but
Is that better? Okay, I was muted. I'm sorry. So we're about halfway through this debate of stupid versus dumber and dumb versus stupid to see who's more insane. So right now, since we're right in the middle, we're going to take a short little break and count up the scores so far and see where we're at. Let's go back to the chat here and see if we can count up how many F's versus C's we have. Let's see. And for those of you who joined us after this debate started, the way I started this, and the reason why this live stream is called Scumbags Gonna Scumbag, is because, well, that's the other thing. I wanted to give our brains a chance to sort of come back up to normal. The way this whole live feed today started was because I was watching a live feed of Pito Libre Audits and SGV auditing a guy dying in the street and the paramedics trying to save his life and then arguing with the cops because they're not arresting people for walking across the street and giving tickets to people for jaywalking when they're busy trying to literally save someone's life. These guys are such scumbags. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, so I went live with that. And then once they were done doing that, then I wanted to play this game from this debate to see who was the bigger nut basket. Also, while we're on the, and I thought this would be a nice little palate cleanser after that as well, even though this is making everyone feel stupider because they're listening to Dumb and Dumber. The other thing I wanted to do, just a news update real quick on the status of what's going on with me. For those of you who aren't already aware, I got my book, The Frauditor's Handbook, that I wrote. And for those of you who saw the other day, Kick was reading from it. He actually, it was his idea. So eventually, the official audiobook version is going to be released with Kick doing the reading. So we got that to look forward to. Before we move ahead, let's like I said, let's go back and count the score here and see where we're at. All right, let's see. We got 1, 2, 3. I should be writing this down. This is the kind of time where it would be good to have a producer. Seeing a lot of C's, now a lot of F's. C, F, C, F, C and F, 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 F. As of right now, it looks like Freeman is actually slightly in the lead for being more insane than Chili. So at the moment, like I said, it looks like they're both insane. They both got a lot of points right now, but the slight edge seems to be towards Freeman. So on the scale of who's more insane, right now, Freeman's just slightly in the lead from Chili, but we're only halfway done. So let's see what else these idiots have to say to make us feel dumber and see just how crazy people can be.
But you want to give it to another entity, right?
What I'm saying is I want to create another entity that's based on rule of law, not tyrannical tyranny. Tyrannical
so
police.
Give power to the state.
But it's not the state, it's the people. The people would run the agency.
Do I get to consent to it, or?
Absolutely. I'll tell you why. Because now I'll try.
Do I get to opt out?
In the new system that I've devised, which was not explained very well, but I'm going to do it again in about a week, right? In the new system, when an agent from the government shows up and you're beating your wife, right? What we do in that system is take your wife out of the equation and protect the victim from the assaulter. And then we film the assaulter and say, you can do whatever you want. Everything's being filmed. You will have to face a judge and jury within jurisdiction and deal with you because you're a violent thug. And then we fix the person to fix society. But as long as we throw people in a dungeon and rape cages and torture them, they're never going to make the society better. It's getting worse and worse every year. So that's my way to defend, I believe, to be the rule of law. And in this entire conversation, James, you've hacked me. You've thrown a red herring across the line a dozen times, said I'm trying to profiteer or I'm selling something or all these things, but you have yet to defend, honestly, volunteerism.
So
you can hack my system, but you can't defend your own.
Yeah, again, we can go back to this again and again. I think people are probably getting tired of it, though.
No, defend your system.
Chili, I've already told you, my system doesn't create utopia like yours claims to.
It is a total utopia system. It's totally
There's nothing to defend there.
The guy beating his wife just gets to beat his wife, and that's her business.
Okay, well, I was going to go back to that. So you're saying that in your system, the police come and they separate the girl from the guy.
Not police.
Oh, I'm sorry. The magical other guys that are not police, but they're also humans who do the exact same thing that police do.
Verbiage matters, James. They're rights protectors, not police. No such word anymore.
Okay. But really, you're going to go back, though, and create the exact same thing that, what are we going to call? And you said they're rights protectors that do the exact same thing that these other people.
No, they defend victims. They're not law enforcement looking for some cocaine on your table to charge you with a crime. They're there to protect the victim and protect her rights. They're not looking for crimes. They're looking to protect victims. There's a big difference in those two things.
And you know what? I'll agree with, that if police, all that they did was deal with crimes rather than getting people for victimless crimes, and they were voluntarily funded, I would be all for it. All right,
dude. But now there's where the volunteers. I agree with you. It should be a voluntarily funded system.
Chili, that's the only place where we actually differ. Is that you think that because special amendments said that you get to take by force from me to do what you want to do, that it's okay. It was never okay. I don't care who wrote it on paper. That's the only place we're going to have a disagreement. But also, I would also say though, I've seen this happen because in Albuquerque, they don't have enough cops to deal with a lot of the victimless crimes out there. They still do it a little bit. Don't get me wrong. And we record them doing it. But for the most part, they are dealing with things like domestic violence. They do go in. They do work as like peace officers to take the victim away. And guess what? The next day we get the same call again because she went back voluntarily to get with him again. So, I mean, again, all great ideas.
Did we fix the problem? Did we deal with the guy who's abusive? Did we actually set up a system to deal with the abuser?
Well,
Or
if you've
do we
got a
set up a
voluntary
system of
system to
torture?
do that, then great. And that works, then great. That's something that I think myself and a lot of people would voluntarily contribute to. And again,
Right.
the only place we're going to disagree is that we get to force everyone to pay for our idea because we think it's a good one.
Look, I don't think the tax system currently set up is working. That's not what this debate was about. But I mean, I don't think it works as it is because they're taking our tax dollars and giving billions to Ukraine while we have veterans sleeping on the street. It's not working. This is garbage. We agree on that as well. But
That's the only place. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go. Go ahead, man.
No. Yeah, I totally interrupted you. Go, please.
So we don't have a system that's based on taxation for representation. We have a system based on theft, and we'll spend your money on whatever we want. That's the system we have set up now. This is a total tyrannical police state, prison state, death state, and the cops are the word cop, police, law enforcement has to be deleted, and it can happen now. This isn't a utopian idea that can happen in 20 years or 50 years or 100 years.
The
We have
transparency
technology
wagon has
now to
Velcro
put 360
cuffs.
cameras on a new peace force that is intended to defend your civil liberties and rights protectors. And instead, what would happen soon is when you have a transparency officer on the scene, the current regime of law enforcement would all scatter like cockroaches as soon as the guy stepped on the scene that had a 360
So basically,
camera on his
we're
head,
arguing
and
which
those
is
cameras
better,
get spewed off to
George
2 different
Orwell's
agencies
system
who then make
or
sure that the rule
anarchy?
of law is upheld. And that's the system that I'm promoting or advancing or suggesting, right?
Okay.
But that's not a red herring. I'm not selling a damn thing. I'm
Well,
trying
I mean,
to
it's
say
an idea. It's an idea.
Yes,
Then I-
you
What
are.
I
You
meant
sell
was
stuff
you're
like
selling an
crazy.
idea. What I meant is you're
Trifolds
trying
and
to, and you are trying to
posters
sell
and
an idea.
your
I'm
new
not
app.
bashing you for that. You think it's a good idea. You want to sell it. Now, I might even buy it if it's done voluntarily. If you're
Listen.
saying, hey, I've got this idea, anybody who wants to voluntarily contribute to it, great. But if you want to take tax money, even if it's tax money that's already being taxed, and you're saying, I just want to reallocate it, I couldn't be more against that. That's not taking power away from government. All it's doing is reallocating the power, and it's no different. And-
well, go ahead.
And again, that's
Freeman's
why I
head has
keep
its
going
own
back to
moon.
taxation, because that is the foundation where you end up building a civilization based on
Who's going to pick
uncivilized
up your
acts. I mean,
garbage?
from the very and that's,
Volunteers?
again,
I
that's
don't
the
think
only
so.
debate you and I will ever have where we disagree on something.
Well,
Is
it's
that you
the-
get to
we're-
take... Go ahead.
No, it's
Who's gonna
it's a
build
debate
the
about
roads?
taxes because while you have not defended anarchism or volunteerism very well, what you have done just now is you open my eyes to another possibility that we could fund the transparency agency through volunteers
There he goes
donating
again.
money like
His
Elon Musk, guys
transparency.
like that, who have
That-
multi-billions of dollars that want to make the world a better place. I don't know how you feel about Elon, but him buying Twitter and what he said was that so that we could, it's so imperative for liberty and for freedom is the reason why he bought Twitter. He doesn't care if he makes a dime. So what I'm saying is that we could change this system through people volunteering money. Your idea, James, I give you credit for that, where we create a transparency system with the 360, which I don't have the money or the technology to create that. It would take a major corporation. So then we could fund that where we put transparency officers on the scene of these disgusting pigs with law enforcement to actually try to get justice because they will violate your rights once they come on the scene. The current system does not work and it will never work. And that's where we totally agree. But where we don't agree is to scrap the whole system, go into a revolutionary war, and then maybe volunteerism will work out.
I'm not recommending a war. Again,
But that's what's
the
going to
only
happen.
disagreement we're going to have is that you get to take from people by force to get what you want. That's it.
Dude,
All these other ideas, cool. Let's talk about them. Let's do it voluntarily. But again, we'll go back. I mean, we're going to have the same conversation over and over. I think
No,
we've
we
kind of
won't.
beat this dead horse. Well, I do. I think we beat this dead horse. All I'm saying is that I'm against your idea if it involves using force to violently force everybody else to go along with our idea. Good ideas don't require force.
James, to change from a monarchy to a checks and balances system that Montesquieu wrote in Spirit of Laws required a full revolutionary war, a full-on war, just to change from a system of monarchy to checks and balances, just to change that one system of the get rid of a king, elect a president, and so many people died. So you're telling me that we're going to go to a voluntarist system and millions of people are not going to die?
No, I don't think we'll go to a voluntarist system at all because most people don't want it. Most people want
because most people have a brain
to initiate force and violence against each other to get what they want. I think that it's odd that that people call this a civilized society when they initiate force and violence to get what they want and say it's okay because amendments said it's okay or because legislation said it's okay. It's absolutely barbaric. So no, I don't think that with or without a war, we're going to end up with a voluntarist society. I suppose that my only argument would be I'm going to do my best to personally live under these principles that I believe in, that I don't get to initiate force. And if you ever come to that realization, then great. Otherwise, you know what? I get beat down every day by people who believe in
look at all the bruises
existing.
on his face and black eye and
have
bloody
you ever read
nose
The Most Dangerous Superstition by Larkin Rose?
I have not read it. I will read it.
I wish he would reuse and redefine some words too, because most of society doesn't use the words and define them the way that he does. And so his ideas are spot on, but again, I think it's one of those things where it's trying to change definitions. And if we could not do that and just all agree that, initiating force against someone is not okay.
Well, initiating force against who though? Someone who's violating someone else's rights?
That's then the person who's violating is the initiator of force. Okay. Initiation of force. We're not talking about not
so
using
who's
force.
going
We're
to
talking
stop
about not
them from initiating
I'm
it?
saying that News Now Houston shouldn't have raped this woman, and that because he did, she had the right to use whatever amount of force necessary to defend herself against her rapist. Okay.
I don't want to use News Now Houston because I don't know the man. I'm hearing rumors.
I'm just going by what the court records said.
But
I don't believe in that court either. So
right. So, but James, so then let's keep going on your example. But just to say,
so if you murder somebody, how are they going to defend themselves if they're dead?
In a volunteer
then you just get
society,
to go around
how
killing
would the
people.
woman get justice? And just defend your position. Don't cut down my position. Just defend your position of volunteerism anarchy.
Okay, I've said it before, and I guess I'll say it one more time. But there's no guarantee that she's going to get justice. Okay, and that's in any system, a statist system, a voluntarist system. There's no guarantee that she's going to get justice.
Okay,
hopefully
gotcha.
She will.
Gotcha.
Hopefully,
I gotcha.
Hopefully she will.
No,
there's no guarantee. I mean, as of right now, I don't think that News Now Houston's victim got justice. And we do have a system of
you leave the guy alone, for the love of God. He's not here to defend himself. So now let me just
Well, I mean, we're just going off of his own records and what he's said.
Oh, you mean
I'm just saying that it's not okay. See, this is why statists don't seem to understand this. You don't have a right to initiate force against others. And that's why you get a lot of these guys going out there who don't have a clue. Who are basically aggressors who are initiating force against people like News Now Houston. You don't get to rape people. And this is what statists don't understand. You don't get to take people
But in
from
anarchy,
people,
who's going to stop them from doing
it? You don't get
it?
to do things with their body if they don't consent to it. So, I mean, this is why a lot of people who are statists also support that. They're like, hey, no big deal. You just stuck it in her without her consent.
Well, when the rubber meets the road here, James, what you're saying initially and what you're saying still initially and now even still, and you're saying the same thing, that if a woman is raped, that she may not get justice. And the reason I said gotcha is because here's what happens in a voluntarist or an anarchist system. If you rape my sister and there's no rule of law, I'm going to blow your head off.
Good.
I'm going to go track you down. A volunteerist system and an anarchist system always leads to violence. Whereas a system based on rule of law, not the current tyrannical state of rape and murder by the state. If we actually live by rule of law where everything is on camera, then the state acting in in alliance with protecting rights, would go and seize that person. You cannot be seized unless supported by oath or affirmation, the Fourth Amendment. That means the victim is swearing an oath that this guy raped me and I need justice. But if that person cannot swear an oath to the state, then what happens is I will come and get justice for my sister, because there's no set system to get justice. And that's why I keep telling you, you cannot answer the questions I've asked, because it always leads to violence. Always.
Okay. And so you're saying that you want this system in order to protect pedophiles and rapists. Is that what you said?
Oh, that's another red herring. James. How could you say that? I want everybody to look up what a red herring argumentative fallacy is. James is amazing at them. And he drags it across the scent and it ruins everything. Okay. So rule of law does not begin with violence. Let me tell you what does begin with violence. To get justice without the rule of law always goes to violence. Always. There's always going to be violence if there's no rule of law. Now, if the state is in charge of rule of law currently without any transparency, then you get the tyrannical police state, death state that we live in that is not currently rule of law. We're not living under the rule of law at all. And we've never lived under rule of law. And that's my argument. I defend my argument, but instead of actually you defending, you haven't said how the guy who beats his wife gets stopped and the woman gets justice. You haven't said how the guy who hits your kid in the car and breaks their leg. And you haven't said the woman who gets raped, how does she get justice? You haven't answered any of those questions.
Yep. I guess that makes you the winner, right?
There's not going to be a winner and loser. What I'm saying is you can't defend your position.
Remember, in this,
I've never claimed
in this
that I would
debate, the
create a
winner is the
utopian
person
society.
who's crazier.
Well, it sounds utopian that everybody's going to volunteer to pay in. Who?
What do you mean? What do you mean specifically?
So if you're going to create a system that's based on some sort of justice without rule of law, which is damn near impossible, but you're going to create a system that's going to create justice for people, the woman who got raped, the girl who got beat, your kid who got their leg broken by the car going too fast in your neighborhood, then people are just going to volunteer to pay for that system. Who pays for it? Without taxation, who pays for it?
I'd definitely voluntarily pay for that. And there's people who are very close to me that know that I voluntarily, and I think that not just me, but I think a lot of the people in this chat voluntarily fund things that they truly believe in. Look at the trucker convoy a couple months ago, $10 million voluntarily donated to something they believe in. You think that we can't fund a simple court where we can get justice and, or attempt to?
But if there's no government, then who's going to have you could not, he said earlier that you could not accept the court's jurisdiction if you choose not to.
And then what's the next answer?
Yep. And then when I come to the court because you came and delivered whatever justice you wanted to deliver on me, and I say, hey, Chili just beat the shit out of me. You say, well, that's too bad. This court doesn't have jurisdiction. You didn't submit. You refused to submit to the jurisdiction.
Another red herring. You didn't answer.
What do you mean red herring?
You're taking us over here when I asked you a direct question. If you beat your wife, James, have you stopped beating your wife yet? So if you beat your wife, okay, and then
she wishes I'd beat her.
She flees, she gets away, she says, help me, James has beaten me. And then the court calls and says, we have jurisdiction and we want you to come to court. And you say the court doesn't have jurisdiction over me and there's no rule of law. I'll do whatever I want. This is a voluntary society. How does she get justice for you beating her?
Well, I don't know.
Exactly, because you can't defend the position.
Oh, look at that voluntary donation.
Well, listen, Lackluster, great dude. We raised $3,000 last night in about an hour for a woman who's been cheated by the police and her husband was murdered by the police.
But voluntarism will never work. All right.
Well, to get to voluntarism, it requires a revolution.
No. Okay. All right. I mean, I think that in conclusion, I think we could beat this dead horse. But I think that in conclusion, you win. And
get out of here.
I mean, am I wrong? I think that you win. And with the right amount of money taken by force from other people, you can create a system where nobody gets hurt and everyone gets the precise amount of justice that they should be given.
I just don't think that you defended your position, James. I don't think you defended an actual justice system.
All right, so they're wrapping it up now.
Wishy-washy, maybe something could happen.
So we'll get out of there because that's just a bunch of idiots being stupid. And yeah, somebody just mentioned Pamela. Wait, was that who said that? I got lost in the chat now. Somebody said something about Chili's video about a cop planting a gun. I saw that, and as I always say with all of these guys and all of their videos, the narrative never matches the content, right? They sell what they're saying, not what's actually happening in the video. A cop, after this guy was shot, a cop bent over and reached inside the car. And Chili said, see, he's planting a gun. There it is. It's on video and planting a gun. But all you see is the cop reach his hand inside the guy's car. He could have been taking something out of the car. I mean, we have no idea what he was doing in the car, but Chili immediately went to, he's planting a gun. Anyway, let's see if we could look up the scores and see who won the debate as far as who's the most crazy, Freeman or DeCastro. I'm seeing lots and lots and lots of Fs, lots of laughs. Oh, now here comes some Cs. Let's see, Fs, Fs, Cs, Cs, FCs. Well, actually, it's starting to look like it. Well, no, you know what? More Fs again. You know what? I think that at this point, we could say that it's pretty close to a tie, but I do think that James Freeman wins. We actually found someone who's more insane than Chili. James Freeman. To me, right off the bat, they're both nuts and they're both idiots. But as far as which one is the bigger idiot and which one is more crazy, just the fact that Chili at certain points actually sounded reasonable when he was talking against what Freeman was saying, right there should give it to Chili. Again, the dude's a nut, but compared to James Freeman, he seems like he actually knows something. But I realized something today. This is a slightly different thing, but for those of you who don't really understand Chili's transparency plan, I was listening to something today, and it clicked this idea in my head that Chili's transparency plan almost isn't just Orwellian, as everyone says, but 2112 by Rush. I was listening to that today, and I was listening to the words, and when they said the line about our great computers fill our hallowed halls, I thought about the transparency buildings and the Montesquieu buildings and how they would have to be filled with computers to monitor all of the 3D glasses. And if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, we're going to do a little bit of rock and roll tonight because I haven't seen too many copyright strikes on channels that did Rush songs. So I'm going to play a little bit of that for you guys and pay attention to the words and see if that doesn't almost sound like Rush was predicting Chili's plan when they wrote 2112. Let's get that up here. A little bit of rock and roll. I'm not going to play the whole 2112 overture. I'm just going to play the Temple of the Syrinx. So you don't have to worry, if you're familiar with it and you don't want to sit through the whole 45-minute song, I'm just going to play the Temple of the Syrinx bit. But where is it? Oh, wait, I had it open, but yeah, I wanted to find the lyrics video so you guys could see how I see this apply to Chili's system. Are they playing the whole thing? Oh, no. It says Temples of Syrinx. But this is 2112 right now, the overture. So we're going to skip past the overture. Remember, once the lyrics kick in, think about Chili's transparency plan and see he's talking about not just George Orwell in 1984, but he's thinking of 2112 as well. Just imagine transparency agents as opposed to the priests of the temple. Pamela, you want me to play Tom Jones? I'm not making fun either. I love Tom Jones. And the meek shall inherit the earth.
And the meek shall inherit the earth.
And now, let us describe the transparency plan. We are the transparency officers. Are held within the transparency of Montesquieu walls. Good drums. Some of the best drums ever. Yeah, so anyway, I love it whenever you listen to Rush. People who don't know Rush are always like, wow, listen to those drums. And it's like, if you know Rush, it's like, duh, of course, it's Neil Peart, one of the best drummers who ever lived. That guy was insane. I'm sure they're still saying stupid stuff. Well, actually, I noticed when I was looking up that Rush video that whatever neutral pedal light Libre and SGV are still going at it. They're at a different stop now, obviously. But like, you didn't get enough with filming that guy dying in the street a few hours ago. Now you got to do that too. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, those guys are horrible. Hello all. Hey, Axiom's Revolt. You were there. You were there. I saw him in the chat too. So he was sticking up for them, if I remember correctly. Chili is a moron. Yes, he is. We played a game with that debate, even though he chickened out on the debate with Blue Bacon, the debate he did with freedom, Freemason, sovereign citizen, James Freeman. And we were playing a game with it where we were taking votes to see who was more crazy, Chili or Freeman. And Freeman won, but only by a very small margin. People thought that he sounded even crazier than Chili sounded. And then after that, I played Temple of the Syrinx because the words to that song almost sound like the same thing as Chili's Transparency Plan. And it's like, let me go troll them some more. Wait, I got lost in the chat. Can only take 30 seconds of these delusional buffoons. They are idiots. Yep, they are delusional and they are buffoons. All of those statements are correct. Let's see. Susie saying who to what? I got lost. I got exactly the dichotomy needed. That's right. Freedom doesn't know American history and is right about Chile. Chile is a 14th Amendment status. Well, yeah, both of them are idiots. So there you go. Yes. Yeah, Chile's plan is just insane. James Freeman's plan is just insane. They're both just nuts and don't make any sense and are out there doing the devil's work, right? And I just said that because Chile always says, you're doing God's work, Chile. Yeah, trying to make as much money as he possibly can. That's God's work. Anyway, I saw Doctor Strange today, the new one. It was pretty good. I don't want to give any spoilers, but what I will say is, if you aren't familiar with the TV series, the one with Vision and Scarlet Witch, WandaVision. If you didn't watch that, I think this movie would make sense without it, but it makes a lot more sense if you watched that. What's wrong about volunteerism? Because there are going to be people that are not going to volunteer. So then what? Just let the garbage pile up in front of your house. Well, I'll get rid of it myself. Where? How? If there's no volunteers to pick it up. And how are you going to get anywhere? There's no roads because who's going to build them? The volunteers? You think volunteers are like engineers are going to just volunteer to do it properly? No. We'll just build our own roads. Oh, so you got a bunch of random idiots just throwing concrete on the ground and hoping that they did it right until it becomes a mess? It won't work. It'll never work. That is the point of volunteerism. Is what? To just let everybody kill each other? Cool. Let's see. Drinking raw water and sewage. Oh, that's right. Who's going to clean the water? A bunch of volunteers are going to run the water treatment facility? Are they going to know how? Oh, just random people go in there and do it. Why? Well, so they'll have clean water to drink. Oh, I have no faith in humanity. Well, I don't, maybe you've never heard about these things. There are a couple things that exist in the world, whether you like it or not. And I hate to do this. If you could look this up, you could Google these things and see that they actually are real, not some crazy nonsense that we just made up. First of all, there's this thing called rape. There's these people called child molesters. There's what's that other thing called? Oh yeah, murder. That's a thing, and it does happen. And yeah, so there are bad people who aren't going to care. Well, we need volunteers to clean the water. I don't care about your water. Why should I clean your water? Well, because if you volunteer to clean water, then we'll have clean water. Well, I don't care about clean water. I'll just drink beer. There are people who don't care. That doesn't mean I don't have faith in humanity. I'm a realist. You're a volunteerist? I'm a realist. I understand that in reality, there are bad people. Yeah, Axiom's Revolt. You of all people should see, because again, maybe I'm wrong, but I could have swore I saw you in the chat earlier talking about me. Actually, okay, Axiom, were you in the chat earlier when Peter Libre was with SGV and they were auditing the person dying in the street? So you want to tell me that you're sticking up for good people and there's good people in the world, and yet you got these idiots that are auditing somebody dying? Those are the great humans you're standing up for? Get out of here. Let's see. Those are the type of people who won't care. Sovereign citizens. Right. They don't care. And even now, there are people who don't care. But that's why the system works where you have to pay people to do it, because they're not going to just do it. But if they're saying, well, why should I do that? Oh, well, because you're going to get, if you're an engineer and you went to college to learn how to be an engineer, why would you go through all that trouble to learn how to do that so that you can clean water and build roads and build bridges? Well, because I'm going to make a ton of money if I'm an engineer doing the math to do that stuff. That's their incentive. Just to randomly volunteer to do it, not going to happen. I'd love it if it did. It won't. Let's see. I think you rock. In my generation, what you are upset about is what we were upset about. Yeah. See, this is the thing. There's a couple different things with the modern what's going on right now and what I'm trying to cover and expose and talk about in all this stuff that I've been doing with these videos and the sovereign citizens and writing the book about the Frauditors Handbook, is this whole idea that like now the cameras really are changing everything, but not in a good way. And on top of that, the whole COVID thing, and not to get into, because I know there's all kinds of controversy over that. You don't even say that word. But the idea, what I'm getting at is, because whatever you think of what happened, it happened, where a bunch of places, schools got closed down. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm literally here right now, because I was teaching at the time, but then the school I was teaching at shut down, the entire school system. So I had to find other ways to generate income. So I got a different job. So, I could stay up late now on weeknights because I'm doing other stuff. But, so that happened. It opened up the doors for people to have a lot more free time to walk around, wobbling their cameras in people's faces and posting it on the internet. And then they started making money off the internet. So it became another way to generate income, and they needed it. So there were a lot of all these different bits and pieces that sort of came together to create this thing where now people go on YouTube and say, hey, wait a minute. All you have to do is film yourself being an asshole and you'll get paid? All right, I'm an asshole. I could do that. And that's what these people do. That's their whole life now. Let's see. My neighbor is a single man, but pays taxes for schools. Well, that's good. Let's see. What did he say earlier? And that's another thing, too, that was kind of driving me nuts trying to watch that. It was like Freeman complaining about the taxes and all that. And it's like, the tax rate in places like Europe is so much higher than it is here You know, that's why so many celebrities and stars and stuff from other countries live here, because of the taxes and all that. And wait a minute, why do we force him to pay taxes for something that will never have or has ever used? He's never used the public school system, so he went to all private schools. Okay, so why do we force him to pay taxes? So he has a specific portion of his taxes that he gets for the school system. Like, I mean, I'm asking because I know that there are some places where there's property taxes that are added on, and there's this tax and that tax. So is there actually a school tax where he lives that he pays extra? I don't know. Archangel, what are you dropping links for? Dennis Leary? Oh, okay. He's cool. Let's see. But yes, exactly. Taxes are for the greater good. You know, and this is so let me put it this way. This kind of comes back to where the whole thing started with this whole argument that, like, with the sovereign citizens and the license plates and the driver's licenses and all that. Okay. If you were to tell me that, and I'll use the license plates as an example, okay? Because when I was in Wisconsin, I had to renew my license plate, and I got the bill. It was $87. Now, if you want to argue that that's way too much money for somebody to put my name in a computer and print out a new plate, and not even a new plate, just a new sticker for me to put on my plate, we could have that argument. I could even get on your side, and we could go there and you know, petition the government to lower that price. But to say that there should be no charge at all, that all those people that work in the office and do all those things with the DMV and everything all should just do it for free, that's insane. Again, you want to argue that taxes are too high? We could have that argument, but that they shouldn't exist at all, that's insane, because then why would anyone do anything? Why would anyone pick up garbage? Why would anyone build roads? Why would anyone build bridges? Why would they hang telephone wires? You're literally using electricity right now. Where's that going to come from? It's okay. Well, the people who work in the electric company get paid. Yeah, but you know what? There's electrical wires and electrical cables and all these things that are built by the city. And who's going to pay for all that? Oh, well, volunteers will just do it. Again, well, just random people doing it? You can't just have random people doing that. They have to be engineers. They have to go to school. They have to know math. They have to know science. They have to know how to figure these things out, how to do it properly. Why are they going to invest all their time and all their resources into that if there's no benefit to it other than a general benefit to society? Well, guess what? Taxes are a general benefit to society. So what's the difference at that point? A breathing tax. Why don't the wealthy pay taxes? Oh, they do. And again, we could argue about you know, tax rates, but that's a different argument. You know, again, like the license plate example I used. You want to tell me that $87 is too much for a license plate sticker? I actually can agree with that. You want to say that there shouldn't even be such a thing? That's a completely different argument. In New Zealand, they were working on a cow fart tax. Oh, man. Yeah, like I said, I'm spending the summer in Florida right now, and the first thing that blew my mind was coming from, you know, Chicago and then Wisconsin, and now here is the food. When I buy food and I do the math in my head to figure out how much it's going to cost, it always ends up being less because I'm so used to there being so much tax on the food up there, and down here it's like nothing. Whoa, wait, it's that cheap? I mean, the food is way, way, way expensive, but the taxes on it are very low, if non-existent. Good night, Susie. Good seeing you. Thanks for coming out. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's for the benefit of society as a whole. It's not just an individual person. Well, I'm paying for school. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing as like with the cops, right? I pay taxes, therefore I personally, specifically am your boss. That's not how it works. There's a pool, and all the tax money goes into the pool. And when those guys cash their checks, the money that they get for their cash comes out of that pool, yes. But it's not like they specifically take your $5 out of your check and give $2 to the cop and $2 to this guy and $2 to that guy and split it. And no, that's it. Well, it's more than five. But anyway, I was in the military. I've been all over this country or other countries. I shouldn't have to move. Well, nobody's telling you you have to, and if you want to change the laws, there are legal ways to do it. Running around wobbling cameras in people's faces isn't the way. Oh, well, it is what it is. But any other questions or concerns or requests or anything before we go? Because it's almost 2 here, so I'm going to start wrapping this up. It's late. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I paid for lots and lots of education, so I decided to be careful about what I paid for. These days, kids blindly go to college with no clue what they are getting. I can't do the frauditor thing. LOL. Yeah, the whole frauditing thing is just, well, I mean, that's ultimately what brought me here, right? And made me start doing this because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I saw a couple frauded videos and some sovereign citizen videos, and I was like, okay, there's a couple of crazy idiots out there. But now, the more I look at it, the more I realize, like, hold on, Axiom Revolt. Hezekiah, you're talking like a statist. Now, we're going to redo the whole Chile debate thing. How dare you call me a statist? Get out of here. If you moved to Texas, it would only be 1 o'clock in the morning, and houses would be a lot cheaper, too. Do I owe you postage for my shirt? Speaking of which, there it is. It's the new shirt. No, you don't. I do also have, I'm trying to think. I think so far I got 5 requests for signed copies of the book, and I have like 4 more left that I could send. So if you email me, we could see what we can do about if anyone wants a signed copy of the book. Let's see. The Reagan world sucks. Reaganomics was, well, the best way to describe Reaganomics is a song by Dirty Rotten Imbeciles. Very short song. It went like this. Reaganomics killing me. Reaganomics killing me. Reaganomics killing me. Reaganomics killing you. That was the whole song right there. So that was fun. And then what was the other thing about Reaganomics that was funny? On Saturday Night Live, they did a bit when, who was the host? Jesse Jackson was the host. And he was running against Reagan for the president. And he was the host of Saturday Night Live. And they did a bit called The Question is Moot. And it was a game show. And they said, whose face is on a dollar bill? And then somebody went to answer. And then Jesse Jackson was like, the question is moot. Under the Reagan administration, nobody's actually seen a dollar bill. So I always thought that was funny. Reagan and Lewis Powell killed America. Whoa, America's dead? I thought I was still living here. I didn't know that. I'm going to have to go outside and pick the lava up or something, I guess, huh? Let's see. All righty. Night, everyone. And Hezekiah, great stream. Thank you, Sonia. Good seeing you. All right, yeah, it's time to wrap this up. If you like the comic book movies, like I said, I just saw the new Doctor Strange. It is good. It makes more sense if you watch WandaVision first, so you might want to check that out. I don't want to give out any spoilers, but there's some really cool stuff, and it opens up some doors to more stuff to happen in the MCU as a whole. So that's pretty fun. And that's it. So I'm going to let you guys go for now, and good night. And like I always do at the end of all my streams with my little 2-second Elvis impersonation. What did you think, Archangel? I give it 3 stars out of 5. So it's good, but I mean, it wasn't like, wow, but it was good. One of the things, well, no spoilers, so I don't want to say anything. But all right, good night, guys. See you next time. Yeah. Almost.